Here's to the farm-to-table producers, the trailblazers, the renegades, the mavericks. Voices of reason in unreasonable times. The last bastion of freedom in an age of lab-grown, 3D printed, and meatless meat. They're not too fond of rules, nor do they respect the keepers of the status quo. You can protest or protect them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is silence them, because they are the righters of wrongs in an age that's lost its way. While some may see history in their eyes, we see the future. Because the ranchers who are rebellious enough to go direct to consumer will be the last ones standing when the dust settles. They are farm rebels, and this is the resistance.
Welcome to day one of the D2C Summit here. If you're a farmer or rancher and your focus this year is on increasing your direct-to-consumer sales, this might be the ag event of the year for you. We're so glad to host you. It's our honor and it's our privilege. Listen, my name is Jarrett. I'm the marketing director here at Farm Rebel, and our mission is to help farm families thrive. And these quarterly summits are just one of the many ways that we intend to do that. We just want to put gas on the fire of your business. We want to help you break the 6- and 7-figure barrier in your direct-to-consumer business. And today is one of those days. We have a lineup of speakers that is absolutely legendary for those of us who are selling direct-to-consumer. Today, while I want you to take a ton of notes, what I really want you to do is open your eyes and open your mind to what's possible in your business. You're going to hear some wild numbers today. You're going to hear some incredible strategies. But most importantly, I want you to look at everybody that speaks today and say, if they can do it, I can do it. We're firm believers here that anything that one person can do, another can do. There's no magic here. This is about understanding a strategy, understanding a system, and applying it. And so you're going to hear from speakers today that are going to talk about similar situations that you might be in, but they found a way to win in that situation. So it's going to be easy for us to say, oh yeah, these things were easy for you because that's who you are and you're a huge business. But remember, everybody that we brought today started from scratch. They started with an idea and figured out along the way how to sell direct to consumer. But we get to learn the lessons they learned and to give us a shortcut to success in our business by applying the things that they went ahead and learned through trial by fire. So listen today to the speakers we have lined up. Again, today is really an inspirational day. It's going to be a motivational day. You're going to learn a ton of strategy. You're going to learn some systems, but most importantly, if you find yourself saying, man, I can't believe they did that, or if you're offended at other people's success, I want you to know that is an opportunity for you to learn, to grow, and apply these things in the direct-to-consumer side of your business. That's what's happening today on day one. By the way, each session today is back to back. We are stocked full of speakers who have incredible things to share with you today. Tomorrow is going to be a lot more of a workshop day. You're gonna learn things that you can apply immediately in your business. Again, we talked about the dials to turn, the levers to pull. You're gonna get a number of those tomorrow that you can start implementing in your business to see an increase in your direct consumer sales. So let's get started today. Again, be prepared to take a ton of notes. Open your heart, open your mind, be ready to learn, be curious, and then don't just take in a bunch of information. Information alone is not going to bring transformation. You need execution for these things to happen. And so you might be hearing some things today and think, wow, that sounds simple. If it's so easy, everyone can do it. It's too good to be true. The fact of the matter is, a lot of this stuff is really hard to do. A simple concept, hard to implement. So take the notes. Be ready to do the hard work to actually reach your goals as a farm-to-table producer. We're going to be here with you the whole time. But again, we're locking in for the long haul today, back to back. So be ready, be attentive, be alert, be ready to take notes. But most importantly, after you've taken these things in, be ready to take massive action to see transformation in your direct-to-consumer sales. So without waiting much longer, let's jump in right now to our first session. Mike, welcome to the D2C Summit. We're glad you're here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So with this being the D2C Summit, we couldn't think of anybody better than you to just come here and share a bit of your story, maybe take a few of the questions that we've received ahead of time. And so if you don't mind, I'd love to just jump right in with you.
Great, let's do it.
So this one's fun. I mean, Butcher Box is at a place right now where you guys really have top of mind awareness in the industry. And it's kind of easy for us to look at the highlight reel and kind of take for granted that you're Butcher Box. This is the juggernaut in the industry because, I mean, that's what you're known for at this point. But how did you even land here? Like, how did you get to the space? What was that germ of an idea in the beginning? Like, how did all this start for you?
Yeah, so I think it's important for people to understand, previous to ButcherBox, I ran a company called custommade.com for about 8 years. And we raised a bunch of venture capital from Google Ventures and a few other venture capitalists, and it failed. It failed miserably. I basically lost everyone's money, had to fire the 50 people who were working for me, and went home with my tail between my legs. And then I started ButcherBox, and I was going to take all this time off, but I ended up taking the weekend off and then starting ButcherBox. And the germ of an idea was my wife and I were doing these elimination diets to see if we had food sensitivities. My wife has an autoimmune disease, and the doctor said go do these elimination diets. And the elimination diets that we were on said, like, eat grass-fed beef. You can't eat conventional, you have to eat grass-fed beef. And when I looked to find grass-fed beef, I couldn't find it in my local store. And I lived in Boston at the time, and I'd go to the grocery store and there's like no grass-fed beef. And so I just got obsessed with, like, well, how do you find grass-fed beef? And, like, where is grass-fed beef? And I ended up meeting a farmer in New York who sold grass-fed beef. I ended up having that farmer drive, kind of like, we met halfway, and picking up a half a cow share, which is one great way to sell your meat, and then bringing it home. And I realized when I brought it home, I was like, wow, this is too much meat for my freezer. What am I going to do? So instead of getting a chest freezer, I ended up selling it to my friends. So I was like, hey, I've got all this meat. Does anyone want any? And I had all these friends, like, grabbing some of the meat. I then did that again, like 3 months later, went back out, grabbed more meat, came back, sold to my friends. And one of my friends, and this is while I was still running this company, one of my friends was like, this would be so much easier if it was just delivered to my house. Like, I really love the quality. I really want to eat grass-fed, but I just would love it to be delivered to my house instead of, like, you randomly bringing it, to me. And I was like, yeah, like, that would be cool. Like, yeah, I wonder if anyone's doing that. And so I started looking for, like, where can you find grass-fed beef online? And there really wasn't anywhere. There's one place called US Wellness Meats, but it was, kind of a old website. It just it didn't feel to me to be like the type of buying experience that I would want. And also around the same time, so I was finishing up this custom made thing, and the former company, and I was, like, really dead set on starting a subscription-based business and making it more of a hobby. So I was, like, reading, like, Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week, and I was really enamored with this idea that you could, like, turn a hobby business into something that, like, covered the income that you need, and then you can go do whatever you want with your life. And so that was the plan. I was going to build a subscription business. I was filling a hole that I had and that others had, which was grass-fed beef. and I wasn't going to raise money, and I was just going to get started. So in 2015, so this is 8 years ago, we started with a Kickstarter campaign. I did Kickstarter because I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I didn't know if this idea would even work. And the problem with getting into the business, unless of course you own the product, but the problem with getting into the business is you need a lot of inventory, right? So if I'm like, ooh, I think I can get a couple hundred people to purchase, I need to go fill up a freezer with like $100,000 worth of product. And that was money I didn't have and didn't want to spend. So we decided to do a Kickstarter campaign and just see if there was a market. And there was, like, right away. Well, the first thing that happened was we went out, showed people our Kickstarter campaign, and people are like, that sounds awesome. I wouldn't eat that much beef though. Like, it's, 8 to 10 pounds of beef a month. Like, no way. I would if it was if there was chicken in there, if there's pork in there, if there was seafood in there. And so we're like, okay. And so right from the start, we decided that we needed to expand from grass-fed beef into the equivalent of grass-fed beef for chicken and for pork. So we launched with, never ever antibiotic or hormone pork that was humanely raised, et cetera. And then chicken was, I think at the time was just ABF free range. And we launched, and immediately we struck a nerve, like immediately. I mean, it's, I'd love to say that we're geniuses, but I think we just had really good timing. And I think the market was really looking for well-raised meat and didn't know where to go to get it. And so we just became that source. So fast forward a little bit, so we launched with a Kickstarter that worked really well. We ended up selling about 1,000 people on a box of meat. And then we called each of them, and we got about 400 of them to say, like, yeah, I'll do a monthly subscription of this. So that was great. And in the process of doing Kickstarter, we noticed that there was an author, a nutritionist, who followed a paleo diet, which is like the Paleolithic, eat like a caveman or a cave person, which is like meat and fruit and vegetables. And he tweeted, like, this seems like a good company. And we saw a flurry of people like sign up as a result of his tweet. And so we were like, that's interesting. And so we went out to him and we tried to put together a partnership whereby he would promote us. And if anyone signed up, they would then be like, we'd pay him for every month that that person was a member. We did that with him and basically everybody else that was in the paleo, clean eating, Whole30, that whole world. We basically got everybody, signed up all of them to be influencers for us. And that was really like, and the good thing was because we hadn't raised money, we didn't have any money. And so we had to like wheel and deal with each of these people. And we ended up putting people on this like residual income stream. So like, help us sign up people and we'll keep paying you. And that like worked, it resonated. And we were just able to grow and grow from there. So I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer any other pieces, but I think the main takeaways are, one, I didn't raise money to start this business, which is very abnormal for D2C, but probably very normal for the types of people I'm talking to right now. Two, we started with a Kickstarter campaign because we wanted to limit our risk. I think it's really important to limit your risk when you start out so that you don't end up with a bunch of inventory and no customers. And three, I structured the business in a way to feed the lifestyle that I wanted, which is a kind of a backwards approach. It's I think people don't talk about entrepreneurship as lifestyle design. And I think it's the number one thing is like, what lifestyle do you want? Okay, great. What kind of company can you run that will fit the lifestyle that you want? So we're 8 years in. We have about 200 people, hundreds of thousands of members. And this has definitely grown to be way bigger than I ever expected.
Shout out to the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, right.
It's the book that launched 1,000 businesses for sure. just helping people see what's even possible using the internet. That's kind of one of the challenges in our space as farmers and ranchers. We're thinking in terms of how the world used to be because that's how we're raising product. But in terms of customer acquisition, logistics, and just selling the product, we're living in an age where it's faster, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's more practical than it's ever been. And so it's interesting helping people make that shift. Have you seen that on your end? Have you had to convince producers? What are those kinds of conversations like when you're trying to say, hey, look, this isn't the future, this is now? How are you showing that world to different producers?
Yeah, it's been interesting. So every year, most years, I go to the meat conference, which is like this large conference of larger producers and buyers of meat. And when we started going in 2015, 2016, the idea of online as a sales channel was like not talked about at all. I think in 2017, they mentioned Blue Apron as like, oh, there are these meal kit companies and they seem to be selling a lot of meat. So that's cool. But like, they didn't mention us. They didn't like, nobody we were completely under the radar. Nobody thought that we were, that online was a viable sales channel. And it wasn't until 2021, so post-COVID, where the market just went online immediately, right? And now in 2021, 2022, we're being asked to speak. We're being asked to talk about like online. Like most of the stuff is about like online as a sales channel and how to understand it. And these retailers, so these people who, were like, yeah, we don't really need an online strategy. People aren't going to buy online. Oh, Amazon bought Whole Foods. Like, yeah, still, people aren't really going to buy online. We don't need an online strategy. Oh, COVID hit. What happened when COVID hit was Target, Walmart, and Amazon gobbled up the market. And if you were a small grocery store or a small marketplace, you got crushed because these people just were able to turn it on immediately and just capture market share. And these people were not. And so you fast forward a couple of years, I believe that the next wave, so it's basically like this train left the station and you were either on the train or you were not. And most people are like, I don't need to be on that train. I believe that the next train to leave the station is the world of what we call claims-based meat, which is animals that were raised better, that are treated better, where the environment is treated better, where the farmer can make a living wage, where the animal is humanely raised, like all of those things. That is where the market is going. If you look at any of the data around the millennial, which I'm 42 and I am the oldest millennial, born in 1981. So me and younger, people care a lot about their food and where it comes from and the story behind it. And like, that is how they're making buying decisions. Millennials and then the people below them or after them make buying decisions based on brands that align with like their heart, with things that are important to them. And right now in meat, what you have is people who feel guilty about the fact that they eat meat. They feel guilty about it. And so as a farmer or as anybody who is trying to like play into this market, I don't think meat's going away. I don't believe that everyone's going to be eating soy burgers in a few years. I do think meat's here to stay, but I think it's important for people to recognize that the rules have changed since 20 years ago. The use of antibiotics and hormones, the humane treatment, the feedlot conditions, these things, like the customer is not going to take it much longer. And this is a train that's leaving the station. And I think many people, just like the small retailers, when they saw, oh, online strategy, I don't need one. Many people right now are like, yeah, we're just going to keep doing things the way we've always done. And I know that that's really hard, especially if you come from a family farm and it's like 3 generations of people have done the same thing. Now, the reality is that farming is being disrupted left and right. The number of farms that are going out of business, the amount of issues on farms right now is at all-time highs. And the reality is that you do need to adapt, which if you're at this conference, you obviously know that, and you're trying to adapt. And I think the place to adapt, there's like, go figure out how to sell online, which is awesome. And then there's also like, figure out how to treat the animal, how to get some of those claims around the animal, because that is absolutely where the customer is going.
Yeah, that's really interesting. We're society right now, we're feeling a pressure as producers and consumers. We're feeling the pressure of having to justify meat in our diet. And so it's important that not only are you educating your consumer, but you're helping them justify eating the meat, which for us isn't a problem. But if you want to sell your meat direct to consumer, that is one of the things you're going to have to get really good at, telling your story and helping justify it for those who are feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
Man, for me, the first time I heard the name Butcher Box, the alliteration of your brand, just it caught me. As a copywriter. I'm like, what? And I believe I was listening to the Bill Burr podcast when I heard the now famous line, free bacon for life. Obviously you don't start there, but when you get there, what is your business looking like around that time? What is your marketing strategy? What is the growth mindset there? How did all of that work? As you started gaining that momentum?
What year is that? Like 2018 or something? 2017, 18? Yep. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I had the brilliant idea of naming the company Meat with a Name, which my wife told me was a really bad idea. So we moved away from meatwithaname.com. And then my buddy was like, what about ButcherBox? And we started with butcherbox.com was actually taken. It was a butcher in Virginia who I reached out to, asked if he would sell me the domain name. He gave me a price that was like, I think it was like $7,500 or something. I was like, no freaking way. So we started with getbutcherbox.com. And then I approached him maybe a year later and was like, okay, I'll buy. And he's like, actually, the price has gone up. It's now 10. It was like, okay, fine. Like, I think this will be money well spent. So we ended up buying ButcherBox. Funny, most like at least once a day, I have somebody call us Butcher Block. Like, oh yeah, Butcher Block. And it's like, I should buy that domain name because, there's there's a lot of like people messing up the alliteration. So basically, we grew very quickly. So the 2015, we did that's when we did the Kickstarter. We launched in September. We did about $300,000 in sales. In 16, we did $5 million in sales. In 17, we did 35 million. And in 18, we did 100 million. So, and I'm happy to talk about the rest, but it's not really applicable to your question. So, very fast growth. The first call it like 50 million or kind of that up to the 33 million was really just this influencer strategy. It was go out to these influencers. And by the way, this wouldn't work today because now influencers are paid differently. And it's just a different market completely. So this worked. And I think it's important, and we can talk about marketing approach later. It's important to know that my story, you can't replicate it because it was the open holes that existed when we were walking through, not necessarily the open holes that will exist for you. So we did this influencer strategy where we went out to nutritionists, people, paleo, Whole30, keto, anyone in that space, and we got them to promote us in exchange for basically a monthly payment of like $20 per month per subscriber. And that worked incredibly well. And it wasn't really until we had hit that 33 million and we were really starting to grow that we did anything else, really. We just stayed focused on that. The first move that we made after that was into Facebook. At the time, 2017, at the time, Facebook was, it might have been 18. Facebook was just starting to introduce videos onto their wall, right? And so if you're on Facebook, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this has all gone from static pictures to videos very quickly. I think like that's the direction that they're going in. So we launched a video ad, and that worked incredibly well. Like, so we were able to just clean up on Facebook and just bring in all of these customers. Now, as a business that hasn't raised money, the way you need to think about marketing is you can only market enough money so that you don't lose money on that first box. We called it being box one profitable. So if, let's say our profit is $30 on a box, right? So after you've paid to ship the thing out and the box and the meat and all of that, hey, we're making $30 for every box that leaves the facility. We needed to make sure that we didn't spend anything more than, $29.99 on that box, because we didn't have any cash. So, and that worked until we got to a point where we were like, okay, we need to spend a little bit more. We need to bleed into box two, right? So, okay, 30 days after they've ordered, they're going to get another box. Now let's play with that $60, right? And so we would put things on credit cards and wait and just started playing the game. But we continued to be incredibly careful about making sure that we maintain profitability, that we had our eye towards profitability. So yeah, Facebook was the next thing. And then podcast was the thing after, when we started talking to people like Bill Burr and Joe Rogan and some of these podcasters. And because podcasts at the time, again, you can't really follow my path. You have to find your own path. At the time, podcasts were like fairly new. They were under monetized, meaning the people who were doing podcasts didn't necessarily know what they had, or didn't know how valuable them doing a read is. That's changed now too. So now it's like the pricing is completely different. So yeah, I think going into marketing, it's really, which I'm happy to talk a lot about, but it's really about having your antenna open and just trying to see what's working, and then exploiting or moving towards the things that are working and focusing all of your energy on those things until you have something that's like a bigger business.
For sure. That's incredible. One of the things that you are saying is, though some of the changes in the marketing side have shifted to where you probably wouldn't build it quite the same way today.
Sure.
What's consistent is knowing where the attention is and where people are congregating. And
Yep.
So we've all done the panicked, what would I do if I had to start over, knowing what I know now scenario. If you had to start over today, knowing what you know now, how might you approach your marketing strategy differently?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it would really depend on what type of company I'm trying to build. So if we go way back and we say I'm trying to build a hobby type business, and at the time I was saying if I got 1,000 orders a month, I'm golden. I don't need anything more than 1,000 orders a month. So I think for people in your audience, what the first question is what are you trying to build, right? Are you trying to build 1,000 orders a month, or do you want 100,000 orders a month? Because those are two different things and likely two different marketing approaches. I've seen and have heard and I think it would be the most interesting. Going back to what I was saying earlier, people really want to know the story of the product that they're consuming. And I think that the world of social media and TikTok and being your own influencer, your own voice, telling the story of what you're doing on the farm, why this matters, why your approach matters in short form videos, would probably be where I would start. And I know there are people that are doing that online and are showing the behind the scenes of what it means to raise an animal, and why you make the trade-offs you do, and why you're doing the things you do, and what is exciting for you, what's bothersome to you. which is hard to do. It takes a lot of like openness, right? But I think that's probably where I would start. Now, I'm not a farmer, so mine would be very different. It would be more about like going to tour farms or like interviewing people on farms, or, you know, just kind of like trying to explain to a consumer like about why this matters. That's probably the approach I would take. Or you really figure out like what type of customer are you trying to reach, and then like build content around like that they would be consuming, and you just happen to also be selling meat.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's what I would recommend too. A number of us, we're so close to it, we can't really see what we have. And so the
Right.
day-to-day stuff, we don't even see the value in sharing some of those things, but try oversharing versus undersharing if you
Right.
want to get started. The audience will let you know what they like based on views, shares, likes, comments. And so you can get instantaneous feedback on content on social media platforms these days.
I mean, one of my favorite TikTok channels is like, I don't even know what it's called, but it's basically like somebody trimming cow hooves that have like, you know, that have like abscesses in them. And it's just like, it's fascinating. And who would think that anyone would want to watch that, but it gets like millions of views. It's just, yeah, people really like a level of detail that I think is a bit uncomfortable. But yeah, that would be how I would be building right now.
Yeah, details for sure. That is an interesting. That is interesting. You seem to be an entrepreneur through and through. Like you said, Butcher Box was not your first rodeo. But entrepreneurs tend to have a build the airplane as we're flying it mentality. So you did not probably foresee some of the bottlenecks and some of the challenges you were going to have, especially early on as you're really getting going. So besides sourcing, what were some of those initial things you were bumping up against that you had to just kind of figure out on your own?
Oh gosh, everything. I mean, so yeah, I think there's like a couple of misconceptions about entrepreneurship. One of the biggest ones is that entrepreneurs are risky people. Like that's not my experience with entrepreneurship. I think people like, the people who put everything on the line and are like, I'm gonna like mortgage my house or home equity my house and do this and do this and do this because like that's what I need to do to make something successful. Like I've seen people lose their home. I've seen people like just fail miserably because entrepreneurship is like, it might not work. And so the approach that I encourage people to take is one of like massive risk aversion. So what are like a few things you could do today? And I oftentimes tell people to do more than one thing because you don't know what's going to work. So, okay, I want to sell meat direct to consumer. Great. Like, how do you do three things at the same time and see which one works, right? Take small bets, don't spend a lot of money, try to do it for free if you can, or just your time, but take small bets like, oh, I'm going to do this TikTok channel and then lead people to like buy meat. Or, oh, I'm going to put something in Craigslist and like that's free to list and maybe that'll work. Or, I'm going to do Facebook, different marketplaces and like, put up a meat thing and see if that drives. Okay, which one's working? Oh, none of these work. Cool. Next week, come up with 3 more and keep going. And then when something works, you want to just like, oh, that works. Okay, double down on it, triple down on it, like just focus on it, and build from there. And then, yes, there are these like detours that happen. And I think that the best entrepreneurs cherish the detour or the defect, right? They're like, hey, how can we use this to help us? So my best example is from the early days is during the Kickstarter campaign, we did this thing where we told people like, hey, we ended up raising like $200,000, but we told people like, hey, we really want to hit $100,000 in sales. And if we hit $100,000 in sales, we're going to give everybody who's bought a box free bacon in their first box. And we we were basically encouraging the people who had already purchased to like share about the Kickstarter campaign with their audience. Go refer us to your friends so that we can all collectively get free bacon. Who doesn't love free bacon? And so it worked. We got over 100,000. And so when we shipped out our Kickstarter boxes, every box got free bacon in the box as like a promo thing. And then we launched a website. So we launched our website like the day before Kickstarter ended. We launched our website and then started pushing people to the website. It took about a month to realize that anyone who signed up on our website, as well as all these boxes that went out for Kickstarter, that we were sending free bacon to everybody. And the engineers are like, oh my God, we're so sorry. We've been sending free bacon to everyone. We've looked into it. Like, it's going to take a lot of work to like unwind that. We're not sure how long it's going to take. We could stop sending boxes right now because they're all going to have free bacon. Like, what do you want us to do? And I think I love this story because it's like, this is, I think, the difference between an entrepreneurial approach and an approach where everything needs to be perfect. We were like, free bacon's going out in every box. Maybe we should like use that as our marketing copy. Sign up today and get free bacon in your first box. It's like, okay, great, let's do that. And so we took this defect and turned it into like something we were marketing towards. And then that became the first giveaway, which then over time became free bacon for life, because we found that if we promised bacon in every box, people were more likely to stay. They were like more sticky as a customer. But yeah, I think every day there are things that come up that are like momentary speed bumps or, kinks in the road or roadblocks. And you just got to like keep moving, because you really never know what's around the corner, that's an awesome part about entrepreneurship. It's also, one of the most important things is to orient yourself quickly and be able to make decisions quickly, rather than like, okay, let me like think about this, like, free bacon in every box for a really long time and not make a decision. Like that can really hurt you.
For sure. You said some number of interesting things in there. I always say, if doctors are practicing medicine, then marketers test advertising. Like that's really important. So you don't go whole hog into something and bet the farm until you've tested and tested and tested and test where you can afford to test, not a risky test. So I love that you said that. This free bacon for life thing made me wonder. So what's the thought process behind subscription versus onesie twosie boxes, especially since you have the mantra that we're profitable from box one? So what's the subscription thing? What's the advantage to subscription? And how are you getting people to stick and stay? I mean, you mentioned free bacon, but how long is that? How long are people sticking around? And what are some of the tactics you're using to get them to stick and stay longer?
Yeah, so we did subscription because of the whole Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Work Week. Like he sold a subscription nutraceutical, and like, the beauty of a subscription business is you sign them up once, and provided how long you can keep them, depending on how long you keep them, they keep paying you every month, right? And so a subscription is a really interesting approach where you're not selling somebody like once, you're selling them like multiple times. And if you provide them great product at a great price, great value, great quality, they'll stay. And if they stay, then they become a customer next month and the month after and the month after. And so that was like really the approach I was looking to build a subscription business because they're really quite fast. They compound on each other, right? So if you start out and you do $10,000 in sales this month, well, you're going to lose some of it. Maybe you lose 10% of it or 20% of it. But that means next month you're starting at $8,000 worth of sales. And so if you add your $10,000 on top of that $8,000, now you have $18,000. And then if you lose 20% of that again, you're down to 15,000. But like it just compounds on itself in a way that like you can just run up revenue pretty quickly, provided you're providing a service that people want to stay for. So that's why we started with subscription. And we do a lot of stuff to, for us, I think and this is true with any of the food delivery companies, Well, I guess another thing, I was confident that we could do subscription. So subscription in meat hadn't really been done. I was very confident we could do it because of all of the Blue Aprons and Hello Freshes and all of that, where they're sending you a box on a weekly basis with product to like go cook. And I believed, I think rightfully so, that the average customer would rather just have the meat than like the cubed sweet potato that like, you know, and the ranch dressing that they need to like cook. That most people, especially people who want to cook at home, would just prefer to like, just give me the meat and I'll like make it up. I don't need all this other stuff. And so, you know, we just sent the meat in a subscription. For us, the most important thing is the successful cooking within the first 2 months. So we spend a lot of time trying to help our customer cook better. Because what the data suggests is if people are successful, they're way, like in the kitchen, they're way more likely to stay as a customer. The other big problem that we have, which is something that like we continue to, you know, try to solve and wrestle with, is so we ship frozen. So you buy our meat, we ship you frozen. Let's call it 10 pounds of meat or 12 pounds of meat or whatever, and it goes in your freezer for the most part. So the average American consumer, I say they think about their freezer like a savings account, not a checking account. It's like where they store product for some time in the future, whenever their fancy strikes them, right? And then their refrigerator is when you say, what's for dinner, you open your refrigerator. And so what we find often, which is like, it makes me, you know, angry in a good way. Like what we find oftentimes is like our customer opens their refrigerator and is like, what's for dinner? Oh, we don't have anything thawed. Let's go to the store and buy some ground beef, right? And it's like, no. Like, first of all, you can cook from frozen. Secondly, how do we like encourage you as a customer to plan out your meals so that you have things that are waiting for you so that you can cook them? That is like some of the stuff that we're working on to help our customer, just like eat through the product that they purchase. If they don't eat through it, they're going to delay their next box, and then that just like turns them into like less revenue, less, you know, less profit, et cetera.
That was freaking golden. Like the last few minutes of that, you had so much packed in there that gives farmers and ranchers a lot to think about. Really appreciate that on there. Oh man, just a few more questions if you have time. I'm really interested in a few more of these. One would be, and this is a little bit personal, so share what you're willing to share, but you know, as we're succeeding and as we're growing a business, it requires more of us. It requires us to become a different person, really at different levels of leadership. What are some of those barriers you've had to break through personally? Who is it that you've had to become as you've grown the business? Like, what are some of your thoughts on personal growth and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of entrepreneurship is it is such a great way to propel personal growth. Because if you have a team of people or you are kind of by yourself doing your thing, if you're conscious of the way in which you show up, or that I call head trash, the head trash that you carry, if you're conscious of it, you can see it everywhere. You can see you playing out the same stories over and over and over again. And if you're lucky enough to have been doing this for long enough, I've been, between my last company and this company, I've been CEO for 15 years. You can see like these patterns of just like you doing, I can see these patterns of me doing the same thing over and over and over. Okay, so first of all, you use some stuff there that I'm going to take as an opportunity to talk about what I believe is another lie of entrepreneurship, which is this idea of losing yourself. If you read the media, or if you watch, you know, TikTok or Instagram, there's this thing like called like hustle culture. And it's this idea that you are going to like wake up at 4 a.m., you're going to slam out a workout and then like work your ass off all day, maybe get a cold plunge in, maybe have a little bit of time for your kids, but basically you are going to work and work and work and work because that's what it's needed to get ahead. I just saw something the other day, and this person was dead serious. It was like, I will beat you because I don't need sleep. And it's just like, okay, I mean, and that is the culture. And if you are listening to the wrong things, you might think that that's what you need to do to get ahead. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of examples of like people who have gotten ahead and they're like not necessarily living a balanced life. The beauty of entrepreneurship is that it is an exercise in lifestyle design. You can have the lifestyle you want, and you then build the business around the lifestyle you're looking for. So I would caution people to like not lose yourself to the business. So good example, when I started this company, I had just spent 8 years running a company that didn't work out. And when I reflected on my 8 years, I'm like, I gave that thing everything. Like I'm 20 pounds heavier. I lost a bunch of my friends. My daughter was 6 months old when it went under, and I haven't really been spending a lot of time with her. I just didn't feel like I was there every Saturday. Like I wanted to be the first one in and the last one to leave to set the pace and all these things. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do that again. Like, I'm not going to lose myself to this business. And so I said I wasn't going to work any Fridays, which I haven't done in 8 years. I said that I was going to, take lots of vacation, be there with my kid. The Friday thing was to like be there with my kids, be home for dinner most nights, say no to traveling, like all these things that I wanted to do to like define the type of person that I wanted to be. And so as your business grows, there's a lot of temptation. I mean, I get invited to stuff all the time. Can you come here? Can you speak here? Can you come to this, like, go hang out, boondoggle thing? It's like, no, because that is not what I am looking for in my lifestyle. I think you need to make sure that the company you're building doesn't suck you out of the lifestyle you want. And the best way to do that is to like write down the type of lifestyle you want before you get going. But to your piece around like, how did I have to change as an individual? I mean, a lot. I had to change. I've had to change quite a bit. I'm a big believer in the Enneagram, which is it's kind of like a personality test, but it basically are ways in which you move out of consciousness. So the ways in which you stop being joyful and full of love, and you go into this spot of fear and anxiety and panic, which is unfortunately where we spend like 85 to 90% of our time. And everyone has like a different voice in their head. So I'm an Enneagram 7, which is called the glutton. So I am like really good at taking on more and accomplishing stuff and like moving and whatnot. My life's work is to be okay and comfortable in the space that I'm in, instead of being like, there's more. Like, what else can I do to make this even better? So, you're sitting at this beautiful bar on the beach and the sun is setting and you're surrounded by your friends and family and community. And you're like, this is awesome. And people who are much more adjusted than me might be able to sit back and be like, this is it. I couldn't be happier. And a guy like me, I'm like, I should get another drink. That'll make it better. Like, or like, oh, I really wish my mom was here too. Then this would be perfect. And so how does that show up in business? Well, oftentimes it's like, I'm not okay. Like it could be better. It's like, oh, we're growing. Nah, we're not growing fast enough. Oh, we're, like we have a great culture. Yeah, but what about this and this? And I've found over the years that I can have that internally. But if I put that pressure on the team, they just think I'm constantly unsatisfied and I'm kind of a jerk. Right. So small example of like how you show up at home and how you show up in business it's all the same. It's all the same triggers. It's all the same stuff and head trash that comes up. And I think that being an entrepreneur or being on your own is such an effective way of like dealing with that, learning those lessons, and having them really be right in your face.
For sure. That's incredible. There was a lot in there for really anyone watching this right now. Check out the Enneagram. I love it for, helping see yourself. It's a great reflection tool for sure. It doesn't just give you the good, it gives you the bad and the ugly. And there's plenty of warnings that go along with it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that as well. So Mike, you're sitting in a pretty unique position where you've seen success, you've seen what's possible in the industry, you've seen where things and trends might be heading. Can you talk to us as farmers and producers and ranchers? Can you talk to us a little bit about what's even possible? So a lot of us, we're seeing the day-to-day, we're seeing the tasks at hand, but what is possible when we decide to step out into D2C and really start building that out? What's even possible? What's the market like? What's coming? I'd love to hear some of your thoughts around possibility thinking in terms of how we are in this space.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm going to take the question in one direction, and if you want me to answer something different, maybe you could ask it again. But what's possible for you as a farmer rancher who is thinking about getting a better connection with your customer? So, like building out that D2C channel. What's possible is predictability. So you can have a better sense of who your customer is, and you're not necessarily just relying on a restaurant or relying on a grocery store to carry your product or relying on the current feedlot prices. You are no longer beholden to as many things that swing the market at a whim, right? One of the big challenges, and I'm not a rancher, I'm just speaking out of like the people I've spoken with. One of the big challenges that, as I understand, is this idea that like, yes, you are raising the animal, but you're kind of always at the whim of like where the commodity market is at that given time, or how hard is it to get shackle space, or, like these things that are like kind of out of your control. And if you own the customer, you will have an easier time with the other pieces, because, it doesn't matter what the feeder cattle price is right now, because that's not what you're doing. You're going to feed it yourself and you're going to sell it, and like, here you go. And so I think that there's a level of autonomy and control that you have that that's a new area, and I think pretty exciting. What's also possible is that you get to build it, provided you do marketing channels that feel good to you, and you build out an approach that works for you. You're building it in a way that like feeds the lifestyle that you want, which is great. Industry wide, I mean, what we're trying to do as a company is to transform meat in this country. One of the knocks that we get is that about 70% of our beef is from Australia or New Zealand. And, what I say to people is like, that's because the US system for grass-fed is not at a scale that comes anywhere close to what Australia is like. It's not because we don't want to support US farmers or have all of our product be US. It's like quite literally, it's not possible to build out the program that we have in Australia right now in this country. So we're continuing to try to invest in it, whether that's through like nonprofit efforts, whether that's through two programs. We have one program in California, one in Missouri. Like, we're trying to invest in it. The reality is on the ground that the cattle system in this country is built for feedlots. Like, that's how everything is priced. That's how the loans are structured. It's like everything's priced for like the feedlot. And that system needs to be toppled in order for us to be able to like do what we want to do. If you believe, the first thing I talked about around, or not first, but one of the things I talked about was this idea that we have a customer who's increasingly worried about like the meat that they're eating, and are increasingly pushing on more claims for the meat. If you believe that story, then the question is, well, how do you move towards a new system of production? Because I believe that, the massive feedlot finishing operations are going to be a thing of the past someday. That might not happen in the next 5 years, but if I was to bet over the next 25 years, I think by the time that you're passing your farm to the next generation, or the time like within your career, you're going to see dramatic changes in meat that we are hoping to be at the forefront of and helping to push forward.
I love that so much. Toppling systems is what we're all about here at Farm Rebel. We're glad that you're part of that resistance. You're helping pave that way and pioneer what that could look like here in the States. I want to wrap with this last question, a question that probably isn't asked enough of farmers and ranchers, but what is your vision? What is your mission at ButcherBox, and how can we shape our own? How do we flesh that out as producers on our own?
Yeah, so the best way that I've seen to flush out your vision on your own it's a process called the Vivid Vision, which is this guy, Cameron Harold, wrote a book about. You can download a PDF online about it. But a vivid vision is a 3-year picture, because like, why do anything more than that? Because that's just too far in the future. But 3 years in the future, and what I generally do is I take the day, I go for a hike, I relax myself, I, just like try to be really present, try to like clear the decks, turn off the phone, and just be with myself and my heart, right? And the idea with a vivid vision is to suspend like your head, but to write down what a day 3 years in the future looks like. What time are you waking up? Are you waking up alone? Do you have a spouse? Are you hanging out with your kids? Are you not? Are you running to work? Are you going to the gym? Oh, then you go to work. Okay. Are you going to an office? Are you not? Are you just opening your laptop, looking at some orders? Are you like what does your day look like? Are you going to feed the animals? Do you have someone doing that for you? Are you going to pack boxes? Do you have someone to do that for you? Are you doing charity because it's a Tuesday and every Tuesday you and the company does charity? Like, really, like, what is your heart saying is like your day? And you write that down. And done well, this vivid vision is, as provided you can shut off the part of your brain that's like, that's not possible, that's not feasible, you got to erase that will never happen. What I have found in writing these vivid visions, which I have done for the entire time frame of this company, is that they become eerily true. Like, not everything happens, but like, it's like, oh, wow, this is like super accurate for what I had written down 3 years ago. There are pieces of it that's like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm waking up here, this is how my day is structured. And so I think that's like a really fun process, and also very bold, because you're willing to write down and like, let God know, let the universe know, whatever you believe in, like, let them know that this is what I think is possible. And then you can go and accomplish that and remind yourself of that. So I think that's like in my opinion, the best process. But now as a company, like, we are going through that process right now of like, what does ButcherBox look like in 3 years? And, I find it interesting, like, and I'm happy to talk more about this with you offline, but, I'm oftentimes asked for my opinion on how to help smaller producers reach a direct-to-consumer market. And the challenge you run into is, first of all, the slaughterhouse. Like, you have to be in a certain type of slaughterhouse in order to be able to even sell your product outside of the state lines. Then there's there's logistics. Super expensive. It's like a lot of stuff from small producers who are shipping all across the country is like overnighted. Well, when you're overnighting stuff, you're paying like $75 in shipping versus my shipping rate, which is much cheaper than that, because we have 5 facilities and we put it on the ground and whatnot. And I'm very curious about an approach where, instead of us like considering ourselves to be competition to somebody who's trying to sell online, like, what would it look like for ButcherBox to like help propel that forward, right? To like, could somebody maybe buy a butcher box on butcherbox.com, but then it goes out to one of our, our partner farms that are in the area that have raised an animal to a certain standard or whatever. That's where I continue to like just be really curious about, is there a way to like, because I think we're all aligned here on trying to change a system where there's 4 large producers producing, 85% of the beef product in this country. Like, how do we change that? And we are not on that side. We are on this side. And I think, I think there's some really interesting stuff there that I would love to see come to fruition.
Mike, you've been really generous with your time. We're firm believers here that a rising tide lifts all boats, and you're really paving the way for that. You're helping rise the tide for all of us. So, Mike, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your time today. And it was great getting to connect with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good luck, everybody.
Carnivore Snacks is a really interesting meat product. It's not anything like you'd expect when you order from the site. You can't brace yourself for it. It's just a different, interesting snack. Incredible, by the way. But how is it that you guys stumbled on the way you produce this thing? Like, how would you describe what a Carnivore Snacks is? And what is it? And how did you even arrive to the idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just the practice of the R&D stage for my co-founder who created the product. It's prepared similarly to jerky, but I think the time that is spent on it and the types of cuts of meat that is spent on it makes it just incredibly different. And it's not a very appealing concept to somebody who might be entering the thought of having this business idea. It's like, wow, well, here are the challenges. And these challenges are that it takes a very, very, very long time. Like, how are we going to be able to make a lot of product if we can't even do maybe 2 or 3 batches in a day, And I think that's kind of how we landed on something so different without even knowing the ins and outs of the jerky business and how things work. We're just like, what came out is a completely different texture. And once we realized that we could do everything the way the USDA needs it to be done, it was just like the excitement.
I absolutely love Carnivore Snacks. Some of these cuts, they're like really silky and melt in your mouth. Some are more like a wafer or a chip with a little bit of crunch, especially the leg of, like, I love the leg of lamb, something you wouldn't expect in a jerky type category, and just absolutely incredible. So you have this idea, R&D goes into it. Now, how are we acquiring customers at first? So it needs to be said, you sell direct to consumer. We love guys who sell direct to consumer. All of our friends sell direct to consumer. You and I have mutual friends who sell direct to consumer. So now the question is, you have this thing, and then you have to find an audience. How did you find your first few customers? How did you initially start growing the D2C side of this?
Yeah, this is one of the most enjoyable conversations I can have with people because, I started a business maybe 6-7 years ago, and it didn't work out. And the main reason for that was I didn't build an audience before launching the concept. I didn't really validate that people needed it or wanted it. And as basic as it may sound, now I've seen an example of one, and I've seen an example of another. My co-founder, who was doing the carnivore diet for almost 3 years, just meat, salt, and water, started to document all of that. And it was really making a difference in her life because she had kind of started in the biohacking space where she was trying everything. And once this was the one thing that worked really well, she was somewhat early into the carnivore space, and people started to follow and follow. And she was documenting everything she was doing, everything she was buying, what she was putting in the freezer, how she was doing it, how she was making it convenient, everything. And before she knew it, within 3 years, she has thousands of followers that are interested in carnivore diet. And then she comes up with an idea for a product. She reaches out to me and says, hey, do you know anybody that knows how to make a website? I said, send me the product. I got to try it. It was unbelievable. I asked to partner up, and me kind of already learning about how to fail in business, or how to start a business that didn't work. I looked at her audience. I said, you don't even know, but you did it the right way. And so we leaned on that audience. We put a landing page up. We said, we're going to be doing a Kickstarter. We're going to send out some prototypes to a bunch of the influencers in that space. Because even though she was kind of one of the first like 20 influencers in that space, she built those relationships with the other 19. And those were the people that all got the product all at the same time. And they all asked people to go to a landing page where they gave the email before a Kickstarter was up and running. We had, I think at that point, it was like somewhere between like 4,000 and 5,000 emails. And then we ran some ads saying, hey, we're going to be launching this really cool product with this video, our Kickstarter video. We used the current audience that we had, that we built from that email list, to run a lookalike campaign. And before the Kickstarter started, we had like 7,000 or 8,000 people that we could just email and say, hey, this is live. And that is how we launched the business. Is she basically spent 3 years building an audience, and then we launched a product.
You just said the exact blueprint that anybody could take right now and run with. So I want to review that really quickly for those who are listening. Number one, it's never too early to start building your audience on social media. That is what you're going to use to push to a landing page to get their email so that you can start sending them offers. So that's number one. No matter who you are, no matter where you're at, despite what your business is doing, you personally, there's this line that Jay-Z says, the hip hop star, that I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. So think of yourself as the business, not XYZ Farms, not All Hat, No Cattle Farms. That's my go-to joke there. You're the business. Build your audience on social media, because that's the fastest way you can start building something with no money. So do that over time. Mark said it took his co-founder 3 years, or within 3 years, she accidentally backed into having an audience, and Mark recognized that. The next thing you guys did is you reached out to influencers or promotional partners. You sent them a sample. You said, hey, talk about this with your audience, with a call to action to a landing page. The third thing you did was, once you had 4,000 or 5,000 emails through those two, what I guess we would call organic means of building an audience, you pushed those to a landing page to capture an email. And when you had 4,000 or 5,000 of those that you know would eventually ROI, you took some capital, you ran some ads, and you said a lookalike audience. Can you explain what that is for those of us who have never ran Facebook ads?
I will say, as much e-commerce experience as I had, and it is a lot. I've basically got my hands dirty doing everything except ads. I ran ads by myself one time, and it was for that. I basically went through some like 2 or 3 hour class about how to run a lookalike audience. And I don't even know if the lookalike audience stuff even still exists with iOS changes and stuff, but I did exactly what this person told me. And we ended up spending like $3 or $4 grand or something. And we paid about a quarter for it was a quarter an email. So it really worked. And the fact that we were able to lean on that audience that expressed so much interest already in the product and let Facebook go and do their thing, it helped tremendously. But yeah, lookalike audience is basically just Facebook taking that email list and going out and finding people that they believe are very, very similar to the attributes of that email list. And so that's how we did it.
Absolutely incredible. And it's that when you were confident that you had enough of a list to really make money on with an offer, you then put money, like you said, about 3 grand into running Facebook ads, and that doubled your email list. So your own audience, influencer marketing, and paid Facebook ads, you push all of them to a landing page. Important distinction here, Mark. What's the difference you would say between a landing page and my company's website for our farm or ranch?
Yeah, landing page is just, it's a really quick, and this is the mindset we're all in nowadays, surfing the internet. It's just like things are move fast, right? You got to grab attention really quickly. You got to be very clear. With a landing page, it kind of starts off with, how can I be as clear as possible and get them to do the one thing that I need them to do. But by the way, it's also a really good practice to think about your homepage, because if you do have people organically landing on your homepage and you do sell something, it's cool to share your story and stuff, but the ultimate goal is to get somebody to buy something, and they probably land on the website because they're interested in what you have to offer. So for the landing page, it's just really being as clear as possible, not a lot of distractions with what you might call, in the menu where you're sending people to different locations. We just got one focus. Let's get the email. Let's make it simple. Let's tell them what is going to happen when they give us their email, what they're signing up for. It seems really basic, but again, if it's just hyper focused on that one thing, the conversion is it's going to improve.
For sure. Great advice in there. So we're using the landing page really to build our email list. And so you organically were able to build a list, 4,000 or 5,000 people. Then you said Facebook ads threw some gas in the fire, doubled. You're around 8,000 after that. What is the importance of email in today's day and age for farmers and ranchers?
Holy moly. I mean, for farmers and ranchers, I would probably say it's arguably more important, because especially in the farming and ranching business, I buy from farmers and ranchers. And the number one thing that I want to know, especially if I'm going to sell my product, I want to be able to communicate everything that I know about the farms that I'm getting my meat from. And in order to do that, I got to learn a lot about them. I like to hop on Zoom calls when we don't have the opportunity to go to farms and visit them and engage with the farmers, really ask a lot of questions about their practices. I'd love to know their story, what generation, or is it, how many generations through the farm? And a lot of times, especially if you're trying to scale something, you're not going to be able to hop on a call with somebody every day. I mean, in the e-commerce space, I don't get a chance to talk to people all the time. So I got to figure out how I'm going to communicate all of this on a website and through email. And email it's just so important because somebody has given you the email. They've told you already that they're interested in hearing from you. You can never email too much, in my opinion, unless you're just emailing sale. This is an unbelievable opportunity for you to share what is going on at the farm, how you're doing things differently, taking pictures. Like, let the person who's buying from you feel closer to whom they're buying from. So yeah, man, for me, it's just like email is all about improving the relationship between you and that person.
What are some ways that you have tested to get sales through email? You guys, I don't want to downplay this. You guys are amazing at text messages and emails. Can you talk about what are some of the things you do to actually get the cash register to ring through your email, through your text messages? Because you guys, you've kind of mastered it, to be honest. So would love to hear.
The first thing is, like, very basic tip. Again, don't ever feel like you can email too much, because what an email does, regardless of what's in it, it just reminds that person that you're here and that we care. We're thinking of you and we want you to think of us. And so at any point in time, if they're in the market for whatever you're selling, even if you're not sending an email that's selling the product, you're going to be top of mind. Your email strategy should really be an overall goal of just staying top of mind with those email subscribers. Because again, if they're in the market for what you're selling, they're going to think of you if you're top of mind. And then as you continue to keep in touch with these people, if you're sending good email, if it's valuable, if you're building on the relationship, if it's emotional, if people can resonate with it, guess what happens when you do send a sale email? The conversion is going to be higher because of the work that you put in with those emails prior to the sale email. So you got to think about the strategy from a, how can I educate? How can I tell story? I mean, it doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be sexy by any means. If this is just a cool picture in the moment while you're on your farm that you would want to share with your family, guarantee you the email subscribers would probably like to see it too. You just send a picture out and just say, hey, today was a great day on the farm, thinking about everybody. Boom. Like that's literally the things that I would be doing. That's low time needed. You don't need to spend a lot of time on that. All you're doing is uploading your picture to your computer. You're compressing it to make sure that it's not screwing up with deliverability. You're putting it in email and you're saying, hey, it was a great day today. That's it.
Incredible. So there's no such thing as emailing too much, because at the bare minimum, it's helping stay top of mind to your list. The second thing is we want to educate and tell a story. And it could be as simple as sending a quick photo and telling what's happening in the photo. So it doesn't need to be some crazy time-consuming thing. I absolutely love that. See, most marketers, when we get into this thing, or most farmers and ranchers, when we start learning marketing and we start seeing all these different components, it's immediate overwhelm. And then we kind of freeze and don't do anything. But you're not sharing anything that's going to be too overwhelming. You're very simply saying, here's a bit of the blueprint that anybody can use, and here's how it worked for us. And that's one thing I really love about your guys' story, is that you took a chance on the front end of it, but many farmers and ranchers already assumed all that risk. Now it's like, what can we learn from Mark? And this process is incredible. You did something that I've had zero experience in. If I were scheduled to speak at this summit to talk about Kickstarter, I wouldn't know where to start, except for the fact that I know that you had a successful Kickstarter campaign. Why did you guys go to Kickstarter, and what was that process like? Can you educate us a little bit on that?
Well, we knew that we were kind of getting into a business that required manufacturing, and whether or not that was going to be done by somebody else or us, which we do all the manufacturing ourselves. That's how it ended up being. We knew it was going to require a bunch of money. And so the only thing that I really heard of or knew of was Kickstarter. I knew about Indiegogo as well, but I did a lot of research on which platform to choose and where we could get the most traffic, and ultimately landed on Kickstarter. And really the three components for it was just like a successful Kickstarter. Number one priority is based on your list. So absolutely put all your effort, all your eggs into that basket to grow the list. Number two, get a good video. It's absolutely worth getting a good video to tell a story, because Kickstarter has ingrained that into the Kickstarter experience. People that go on, there are people that love it. They just go on and see what's live, and that gives you some traffic there, but they're watching videos. So definitely get a good video, and then really be able to craft the right offer. You want to make sure that when you're generating cash, like you please figure out your pricing, know your margins, be able to put cash in the bank, because that's the whole point of Kickstarter. Because you're going to end up spending money on that video. You're going to end up spending money on your first production run. There's money being spent on just the production side of the business. We also, had really good copywriter, Chris Orzakowski. I'm sure some of the audience is familiar. And I've built a really cool friendship with him. And so that's the other thing I would probably invest in is differentiate yourself by just having a really good way of telling the story through also words to complement the video.
Yeah, that's one thing Chris is good at, is he's got a track record of writing copy for Kickstarter campaigns. So that was a great move. That's actually my next question is, again, as meat producers coming into this thing, and we start seeing all the different pieces we need to learn to make this work, sometimes it's overwhelmed. But sometimes we just realize, hey, I'm good at this to a degree. But then sometimes we go, what if I hired this out? So what's the point you get to when you decide, hey, I'm going to outsource some of these marketing tasks or responsibilities? What's that look like? How do we do that effectively? Because clearly you're good at finding the right people. You're good at getting the results out of them. Can you share a little bit around that thinking and around that process?
And that was a lot of trial and error, man. My first business, I wasted a lot of money because I found almost all the wrong people. But once I figured out what I was really good at, which was email, this is before I started Carnivore Snacks. I was able to lean onto a lot of the relationships I built through the first business and pitch my services as an email marketer. And so when that happened, I couldn't pitch that I was a copywriter because I wasn't. I knew nothing about grammar. I was a horrible writer. But what I could pitch is that I was their customer because I was buying their products. I love them. And I just said, just let me try. Let me test out like my services. Let me see if I can make you more money. And it worked out extremely well as I could write in the voice of their own customers, and not be overwhelmed or daunted by not having the copywriting experience. So I really kind of just learned to do a little bit of that myself. You really start to get to the point where you realize that you can replace, specific roles, when you're hyper focused on what, moves the needle most in the business. Because for me, I did email for such a long time for our own business, to save the money. But as we grew, I just had to figure there's better people out there than at it than me. And, it was time. It was time to kind of replace myself doing that. But yeah, it really is. It's just the growth of the business. It's when you start to feel like you are getting burnt out on anything, but you feel like the business is doing pretty well. There's no reason why you can't take a look and say, hey, I want to invest my money in a replacement here because this direct replacement will improve revenue. Like emails, like if I was only able to send 4 emails a month because I'm doing everything else, I'm going down to my warehouse 4 hours a day. I'm trying to see over the head of partnerships, do some of the operation stuff. Like I'm going to try to replace, if an agency can send 8 to 12 a month and I can only send 4, and I know that email is a direct impact on revenue, like that's a no-brainer for me. So really you got to think about how it impacts revenue. Like, does it drive the business forward?
For sure. One thing we know about you guys is that since the last time we talked, we have a relationship between you and Farm. We're friends with you at Farm Rebel and Carnivore Snacks. So the inside track is you guys aren't just doing addition, you're doing multiplication. You guys aren't just growing, you're scaling. You've seen maybe double where you were at even maybe a year ago. So what does scaling look like when we're starting to see success? How do we go from addition to multiplication to exponential numbers? What are you doing differently to scale at that kind of rate?
The number one thing you can do for scale is you have to understand your bottlenecks. There's different ones in different areas. If you don't understand your bottlenecks, then all of a sudden a bottleneck happens and then you're just reactive and you're not proactive. And so for us, like, what are the scaling bottlenecks? Number one, we've never really had a marketing problem. So number one, it's supply. The more supply I can find, the more product I can sell. So we have to stay focused on finding more and more supply all the time. That will directly impact scale. Advertising. Really knowing what that fine line is that we can spend. Because again, we do really well on the paid advertising front, but we have to make sure that we're on the same page with our supply. So it's always, when you're looking at your cost per acquisition and stuff, like if sometimes weeks or months might go higher, might go lower, you have to understand what mode you're in and where you're at with cash and stuff. Like if you're in hyper growth mode and you want to invest in acquisition, then that's okay. Like you can absolutely pay a little bit more for a customer. So for us, it's bottleneck number one is supply. And then bottleneck number two is equipment, is manufacturing capacity. And the best thing that I could have ever done to manage bottlenecks is hire out a very good fractional CFO who I meet with 1 hour per day on a weekly basis. Builds out a nice 3-year model. Every cost in our business is on this model. Every cost. All we got to do is update it. I never have a problem making a decision because I can basically go to this model and say, hey, can we afford a big piece of equipment? Also, at our growth rate, when do we need that next piece of equipment? You have to, it's like playing pool, man. You got to be 1 to 2 years ahead. If you don't have a marketing problem or a growth problem, you got to know that you got to have equipment and time to support the growth. And you got to make sure that you have enough supply. And that's what's enabled us to grow so quickly is that we have prioritized regenerative supply in a time where it's growing rapidly. And we're really trying to stay up front in terms of knowing who all is coming to this space who wants to support carnivore snacks with their supply. And that would be my piece of advice is if you want to grow, if you want to scale, you have to understand what bottlenecks are involved in your business that prevent scale and how to stay ahead of those things.
There is a lot of meat in there. Sorry for the pun, but a lot of meat in there. The idea of how many of us are even checking our finances for an hour a week and really diving into it, much less how many of us are outsourcing to a fractional CFO who understands what those numbers mean and how they could affect every aspect of the business now and in the future. I've heard there's fractional CMOs, there's fractional COOs, and now the idea that you can pay somebody at a C-suite CFO level just a little bit of money to help you regularly. That's an incredible investment. We probably need to consider, not to get too in the weeds on that, because that's enough to send us down a number of rabbit trails, but how do you consider a CFO? What's step one in finding a fractional CFO for a direct-to-consumer meat business?
I mean, in transparency, my fractional CFO who I hired, he came to me. I mean, I had worked for another company prior to Carnivore Snacks as a director of e-com, and he was the fractional CFO there. But I think Twitter's like a really good space for anything direct to consumer. Like if you're selling direct to consumer, whether you're a farmer, rancher, you sell a CPG product, anything, like I would really encourage you today, if you don't have a Twitter account, create one. And if you do have one that you haven't been on, go on there, follow me, Ritzfit, RITZFIT, and just mention me and ask me, hey, where do I start? Who do I follow? Because I think that there's no better community and it's all free. If I didn't have a CFO, I would be posting, hey, on Twitter, who do I go to? Who do I talk to? And I can almost guarantee you that I would get a list of 5 to 10. And there are there's so much talent there, man. So that's an actionable step. I can't tell you how to hire one because mine was easy. It came to me, but I can tell you how I would go look for one.
That's incredible advice. Being in this space, I wonder how many ag people are actually on Twitter, because that seems to be very much in and of the tech world. There's thread bros on there. It just does not seem like a place where farmers and ranchers usually circle around something and form community. But I love that you said that. Just from a marketing standpoint, what are your thoughts on Twitter? How does that work for a direct-to-consumer meat business? Is it viable? Outside of networking, how do you see Twitter working in our strategy, or don't you?
I actually just started this month with somebody who's doing some social work on Twitter for us. So you can find us carnivore.snacks on Twitter. We just started this month and we're putting out a bunch of threads and regenerative content and meat content. and we're seeing how it goes. It takes time, like anything, to kind of grow a following and stuff. We've seen some purchases come through. From what I understand, I'm working with the Meat Mafia guys, if you're familiar with them. They're helping me out with Twitter. From what I understand, Twitter's got a lot of momentum in our space, especially in regenerative agriculture, and in the meat space. I don't know if I can necessarily, speak on the farmer, like actual, like, our farmers gathering here and stuff. I don't know, but what I do know is I really think that Twitter it's a really incredible platform that kind of fell maybe a little bit below like Instagram and Facebook in its kind of middle years here, but I think it's really making a massive climb back. And I really think it's worth testing. I think everybody should get on and they should test it, and they should find people who make sense to work together with, to do content with. I would just encourage everybody to try it.
I like Twitter personally, so I appreciate that encouragement there, and some things to consider. Marketer Gary Vee says it's like a cocktail party. You just show up and start asking around, rubbing shoulders with people on Twitter. So that's how you use it. For those of you who are like, I'm going to check it out. Step one, follow Mark, follow Carnivore Snacks, and just start conversations with people. And here's the important thing about all marketing is it's not necessarily about what you would do. It's about where are your customers pooling together online. And like Mark mentioned, there are influencers on Twitter in the space. So your customers are definitely there. So that's a great stream to figure out. I have to ask, you now are at a much different level than probably a lot of people who are here at the summit, in terms of revenue, in terms of even D2C experience, which is why we're so appreciative that you're here. But I got to ask you, let's pretend this is a hypothetical. Let's pretend something terrible has happened and now you are in emergency mode. You've noticed something's wrong with marketing, something's not working. What is it you would do when you go into emergency mode? What are those first few things that you would do to steady the ship and get revenue pumping again?
I mean, number one, I would lean heavily into the current customer base. There's people that love you. So what can we do? Where can we invest to just make sure that we are maximizing and capitalizing sales, revenue, and support from the people that you already know will buy and support? That's like number one, because that'll get you through tough times. I'll give you a real example of how we got through tough times. When we grew, right? So we launched our website December of 2020. We were open for 7 months. My co-founder was making this product out of little dehydrators in a room, basically, 4 of them, 4 like little dehydrators. And we did $1 million out of these 4 dehydrators in 7 months. She could not do this by herself anymore. So we built cash and bank account, and then we found a place here just outside Columbus, Ohio. And we thought we'd just be able to kind of get in. I knew nothing about contract work or permitting. 5 months, our business was shut down. 5 months of basically what would have been no revenue if we did not lean on the trust and support of our current customer base. So we launched a sale. We don't do too many sales. And we just asked, we told people, hey, we're going to be out of business. We are not going to be able to ship this product until we get legal occupancy into our new warehouse, which will allow us to be better for you in the future. And still to this day, here we are 3 years later, we're going to do $12 million this year. I mean, at that point, we literally did, $1 million. To this day, that's still a top 5 sales day ever. I mean, that drove like $70-some thousand in a day, with a little bit more the next day. And that right there put enough cash in our bank to help us through that hard time that we were most concerned about. So that was the first thing I did when I realized, holy shit, like we might be out of business for a lot longer than I thought. I leaned on the current customer base. So yeah, that's what I would encourage.
That's scary. Oh my gosh. That's also why you need an email list. And that's why at Pharma, we talk about all the time, when you need cash flow, pre-sell, pre-sell, pre-sell. That's like a micro case study right there of why you need to be comfortable not having product on hand and still asking for the sale. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much that was peeling back the curtain on that one is pretty tough. So I appreciate that, man.
Yep.
Uh,
Pre-sale,
so
dude. It's a good way to put it. Like, don't ever fear pre-selling something. Like, if you got a cool idea or you got a cool product and, you can throw it up on a website or something, people will buy it.
what, as co-founder, as somebody who's responsible for entire teams now, what are some things you're working on personally to level up? This is a conversation that does not happen enough in this space in terms of leadership and how we and where we need to improve to be better for not just ourselves and our families, but for our business. You seem like one of those guys. You're a biohacker. You're always improving. You're into the Kaizen thing, that 1% every day better. What are some things that, not to get too personal, but what are some things that you're working on that you need to work on to level up, to be the leader you need to be for carnivore snacks?
One of the first things that I've done once I realized that I've built a business that is bigger than I thought I would ever run, and we got a long way to go, is we hit this $10 million run rate, and I was like, it's time to bring on a coach who has run a $100 or a $100 million business, who has been at the 10 million spot, who has operated all the way up to 100 million spot, because that's kind of, that's like the dream goal, right? Let's go from 10 to 100, 10 to 50, wherever. And so I hired a CEO coach. It's been unreal, like just incredible. Helps me personally as a CEO and helps me get a little bit more clarity on like what I want from the future, what I want from the company, and like what options are available. And then also just getting a lot more clarity into understanding how to make sure that we have 33 employees at the warehouse, make sure that, they're happy, and make sure that we have the right people that are running the warehouse, make sure they have the tools to succeed, make sure that meetings aren't too much, but there's meetings, everybody's on the same page. So as a CEO, it's just like, I have to make sure that we have the absolute right people in the right spot so that I don't have to worry about anything that I shouldn't need to worry about. That's my biggest focus right now. And it also helps the business. If I can let go, it just helps the business. It allows me to be home behind my computer growing the business, which is what I'm the best at doing. Not being at the warehouse, walking in and seeing something that bothers me is not a good use of my time. Like, I got to let the warehouse manager do his thing. It's his warehouse. If there are fires that need to be put out, I can come put them out. That is the job of a CEO. But, you got to try to figure out how to get other people to put out fires and to get things to run. That's the greatest thing I think you can do as an operator, is just find those spots, find the people that can replace you, so that you can put more focus onto the things that will help the business grow. And in my co-founder's position, right, she made the product. It's not a good use of her time anymore to be making the product. Like, we can teach people how to make the product. What she needs to be doing is creating new products, making sure the product's coming out to our standards, improving the product. She needs to be all product, all day, all product. That is where so you got to figure out, as you grow, you can reinvest people's focus into what they're best at, and it'll drive it forward big time. So that's what I'm really working on, is really trying to allocate the time management of what people are best at to get them to do more of it.
Man, I absolutely love that. That's exactly why we've invited Cameron Harold to come talk about some of the operational things, how to see things as a leader, not just as the doer. So thanks for hitting on that a little bit and really setting us up to drive that point home. Really, the last thing I want to talk about, if you don't mind, if you have time for a little bit more, is the power of having a mission and carrying the vision for something. One thing that you guys are really known for is saying yes to meat. You're not just trying to sell product, but you're selling a lifestyle. You're helping people see meat as something different in their lives. You're really pointed, your whole organization is really pointed toward that, the overall category and the overall mission. So can you talk about the importance of what it means to be on mission, how you develop vision and carry that throughout your organization? Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, this has been incredibly important for us from the beginning all the way up until now. And I believe confidently that it does show through the brand. And we have people responding to emails that finish their emails with our tagline because they just want to represent it. So for us, with Sylvia's story, my co-founder, she fell in love with meat as a health food, right? It cured a lot of her ailments, but it's an emotional response for us. It makes us frustrated and angry when we hear so much in the news and in politics that meat is bad for your health and bad for the environment. And so for us, it was just like with how popular those two things are in the media, like we should just create our brand around that. Like that's what we stand for. That's what we love. Like we just want people to say yes to meat because we believe it is the most nutrient dense food on the planet. And we also know that it's not bad for the environment if we turn to something called regenerative agriculture, which, by the way, we know a lot of farmers have been doing this for a long time, and we really appreciate that. And, some farmers are like, we've been doing this forever, but this is definitely something to embrace. If regenerative agriculture is becoming a household practice name, that's a good thing. And yes, we will deal with a little bit of marketing around that term, and we need to be careful of that. We need to make sure that we stay true to it. But for us, that's how we created our tagline, which was say yes to meat. We are a voice for meat in a time when it's being vilified. We say it all the time. That's the brand, that's the culture, that's the mission, that's the vision. If we can stay true to that, we're always going to source from the right people. We're always going to impact our lands in a positive way. We're always going to feel like we're supporting people who are doing the right thing. We're going to share it. We're going to be vocal about it. People are going to support our company because we support those people that are taking the extra step to practice in a highly ethical way. And it's going to give our customers and anybody that knows of us their own voice for meat, which feeds into our overall voice. Everybody we feel like we're given the confidence to each individual person to be like, well, look, this is the type of meat I'm eating. So guess what? It is good for me and it has no negative impact on the land. I mean, that's the brand right there.
Incredible. That's the brand for a lot of people here at the D2C Summit. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for your time, sharing your experience and expertise. You've given us a lot to look at. If you guys, those of you who have the replay of this, go back and listen to the blueprint you laid out, especially in the early stages. There's a lot of meat there for you. You're going to see results in your business when you do the right thing. So, Mark, thank you for today. By the way, thank you for an incredible product. Huge fan here at Farm Rebel. We all love what you do and we're here to support. So we're saying yes to meet with you. And thanks for being here today.
Appreciate the kind words and the opportunity.
Welcome. My name is Jarrett. I'm the marketing director here at Farm Rebel. Our mission is to help farm families thrive. And over the last few years, it's been my honor and privilege to help farmers and ranchers with their direct-to-consumer meat sales marketing system. One of the ways we do that here is through what we call the 4 pillars of direct-to-consumer meat sales. And it's 4 pillars for a really specific reason. We like to think of these 4 pillars as what supports your direct-to-consumer business. If you only have 3, it's not as strong, right? It's not as sturdy. And on the other hand, if you have all 4 pillars, but you're under-emphasizing or over-emphasizing one of the pillars, things can get a little bit wonky when it comes to your sales. And so we really want to be solid about the 4 pillars of direct-to-consumer meat sales. And here's what they are. The first pillar is we want to identify and find your dream customer. Pillar number 2 is we want to get your dream customer onto your email list by adding value. Number 3, we want to present irresistible front-end offers. And the 4th pillar is we want to deliver irresistible offers of higher value to increase LCV. All right, so what do these 4 pillars mean? So let's go through each one real brief. The first one is we want to identify and find your dream customer. If you've been in business very long, you know that not all customers are created equally. Well, to be successful, we don't want to go after everyone who can afford your product or who's willing to swipe a card. We want to reverse engineer. Who's your favorite customer? Who is always purchasing from you, happy to pay premium prices, refers their family and friends who are also great customers of yours? We want to reverse engineer that. Who's that one customer or handful of customers? What is it about them that you like as a customer? And then we want to talk about other things like their lifestyle, their income, where they gather online, how they prioritize the values they have in their family. All of these things are contributing to why they're great customers for you. The second part is we want to identify that dream customer, and then we want to find where are they hanging out online? Like, where can we put your messaging in front of them that's going to attract them to your farm or ranch? So that's the first pillar. We want to identify and find your dream customer. In pillar number 2, we want to attract your dream customer onto your email list by adding value. So how do we get them on your email list? The decisions that they make related to purchasing farm-to-table products is going to be driven to your email list by either a giveaway, giving away a chance to win some product from you, or through offering a bit of information that they would gladly give their email for. So here's what that looks like. You want to enter the giveaway for our farm-to-table meat product? Go ahead and enter by entering your email now. So that's the first way. The second way, the informational way, is we want to dial in what that piece of information is they're looking for. Here's one of the most important things I'm going to say through this session. People who are ready to buy are looking for information. If they're gathering information, it's because they're serious about making a purchase. And so if we're finding people online who are looking for farm-to-table meat producers, if they're looking for the health benefits, if they're looking for a way to solve a problem, these are the best possible customers you can attract on your email list. And so let's package some information for them. Here's how that might work. Maybe your dream customer is heavy into CrossFit. And if you know anything about CrossFit, you know that they are obsessed with the CrossFit culture and lifestyle. They're working out 5 times a week. They're exchanging workout ideas. They're serious about sourcing clean, quality sources of protein. And so maybe you would put together a buyer's guide. Here's how to source farm-to-table meat products to pack a protein punch for CrossFitters. So they would exchange their email for that document or that video, that information. And now suddenly you've attracted more of your dream customer onto your email list. Here's why that's important. HubSpot recently did an audit, and they discovered that 50% of all adults make a purchase through email each and every month. But here's the kicker. 85% of farm-to-table products are purchased through email. So if you haven't figured out the email strategy for your business yet, you're leaving money on the table. And so that's why we take this pillar very seriously. We want them on your email list so you can move on to pillar number 3. And that is you want to present an irresistible front-end offer to that dream customer
on your email list. Here's what that looks like. The first part is we have them on your email list so that we can send them offers consistently. The more emails you send, the more money you make. Remember what I said, 50% of all adults make a purchase via email each and every month. That means each month, the more emails you send, the more money you make. But what was that part about an irresistible offer? It's important to realize that we're not just selling chunks of meat to people who are hungry. We're selling a very premium product, a niche product, a farm-to-table meat product to a certain individual, your dream customer, for instance. And it's not that we're just selling them food or a food product, we're selling them a solution to a problem they have. So in the case of the CrossFitter, it's hard to find premium quality protein that comes from a clean source, where they know what the inputs are, they know who the farmer is, they understand the nutrient density is higher, they don't have to worry about additives or chemicals or dyes being present in the product. They need that level of trust and they're willing to pay more for it. And so we want to present them with an irresistible offer. So maybe a CrossFitter is looking for a clean source of protein that has a higher concentration of protein or other nutrients that supports their goals in the gym as a CrossFitter. So instead of just saying, buy this bundle of beef, maybe we want to call it a protein powerhouse pack. And we want to talk about, instead of how many ounces or how many pounds per cut, we want to talk about approximately how much protein is in each part of the product. That would be very important to a CrossFitter. By the way, that also gets them out of the how much is it per pound mode, and it positions your product in a way that matters to them because it's solving a bigger problem than just what's for dinner. So that's what we do. We want to send an irresistible front-end offer. Here's what we need to know about a front-end offer. Maybe you like to sell your product in bulk a few times a year. A front-end offer helps convert a stranger from the internet to somebody who likes, knows, and trusts you because they've transacted with you. Here's what that looks like. A front-end offer should be a sub $200 offer. The psychology there is anything, regardless of income. Studies have shown that anything above $200, we think twice about. Whether we can afford it or not, it's not a simple impulse purchase because we want it. It's like, do I want this? Do I need it? Am I gonna get it? We wanna fly under the radar of that into that sub $200 so that it's just a no-brainer. They want it, they're gonna get it, they're gonna swipe the card on your site. The other part is it's an irresistible offer. An irresistible offer combined with a sub $200 price tag now goes from something cool that they might want to they would feel stupid if they didn't order it at this point. And that's how we politely call irresistible offers what they are. It's irresistible. You can't help it. You want it. It's at the right price point. It's solving a big problem. And it's irresistible. So that's number 3. We want to put together an irresistible offer that is a front-end offer. Just get them transacting with you to build like, know, and trust so that later we can sell them more, which leads us to pillar number 4. We want to deliver irresistible offers of higher value to increase LCV. So here's what this looks like. So somebody gets onto your email list. We've kind of reverse engineered the problem solution formula here. It's sub $200. They've tried the product. They love the product. They're going to reorder. The front-end offer has gone away. Now we need to start presenting them with some real offers. And maybe it's something like you want to pre-sell some bulk beef. You want them to buy a quarter beef. And so we're going to need them to place a deposit, and we're going to want them to do that a few times a year, right? We're going to want to increase the amount they're spending with us. The trust factor has gone up, so the value of what you're offering can go up. The price tag, the premium pricing can start going up because they've over time have built that trust factor. And so to build a real business, one where you're increasing your revenue, one where you're building a sustainable business, one where you're building a business that's going to last for generations, you're going to want to go ahead and increase what we call LCV, or lifetime customer value. We've moved from transactions to not thinking from month to month anymore. We're thinking of your customers as a lifetime experience. And so it goes from, am I just gonna profit $20 off a front-end offer or a one-time bundle, or am I gonna turn and transform this relationship into something that's gonna be worth thousands or potentially tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of that relationship with them? And so that's the fourth pillar: deliver irresistible offers. Again, such a good offer, they would feel stupid not purchasing from you. And then we want to increase that value. We want to move them up the value ladder from a front-end offer into some of these core offers, into these back-end offers. And we want to do that strategically in a way that over time increases the value that you are to them, solving their problems, or how it increases the value of them to you as a customer in your farm to table business. And so I know I've covered a lot here in just these 4 pillars, but here's what you're probably feeling right now. All of that sounds all well and good, sounds great. I can see the value in that, but the question is, how do I implement this in my business? How do I take it from just a pillar into a complete system that is producing revenue for me profitably and predictably each and every month? Well, we have a solution for that, and it's by booking what we call a breakthrough session. If you're a farm to table meat producer, we want to walk you through a breakthrough session to help you with where you are, where you want to go, and a plan to help you get there. And we want to do this for absolutely free. This is a complimentary service that we want to offer to you. Normally this is a $497 coaching session, but because you're here with me right now, we're going to offer this to you completely free at no cost to you. And here's what'll happen. You're going to book a call. You're going to book that breakthrough session below this video. And during that call, we're going to help you identify a couple different things. We're going to help you understand what the next right move is in your marketing. We're going to help you understand why it's important. And then number 3, we're going to help you understand the resources it's going to take for you to get there. Every good farmer and rancher knows those 3 things, and we want to help you with them during the breakthrough session. So if you need help implementing these 4 pillars in your farm to table meat business, I want to encourage you, go ahead, book a free breakthrough session below this video. We're going to help you with where you are, where you want to go, and we're going to help you with a customized plan to help you get there. Because again, our mission here at Farm Rebel is we want to help farm families thrive. So if that's for you right now, go ahead and click under this video, book that free breakthrough session. We're looking forward to serving you and your family.
What's up, everybody? My name is Chris Orzakowski. Super excited to be talking with you today and sharing a little presentation I like to call mass meat marketing. Now, obviously, everyone has heard of mass marketing. It is marketing that you do on a greater scale. But obviously, that's what we're trying to do with our ranches, right? We're trying to bring meat to the masses. We're trying to bring better meat to the masses, meat that's not factory farm, meat that is regeneratively raised, meat that is grass-fed, pasture-raised, free from all of the nasty stuff that the traditional factory farming industry has placed into meat at the sake of profitability over the years, right? And we want to grow our ranches so we can take care of ourselves and our families and hopefully leave a legacy and build an organization that could last for 100 or more years and have an impact on our local communities, our state communities, and even our entire nation, right? To help our people, to help people who are like us, who enjoy meat, who have respect for nature and, what we do and the products that we create, essentially. So that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to develop and then use a whole new set of marketing superpowers to help you grow. And to do it in a very simple way. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't require you to go to college to get a marketing degree which I don't have either, by the way. It's something that doesn't require you to become a marketing expert overnight, or to spend the next decade learning digital marketing and things like that, right? What I want to do is show you a very simple way to learn how to create advertisements and marketing messages and messaging assets that you can use in your business, that you can create one time and use them over and over and over again, and become more effective every time you sit down at the computer, every time you're in a face-to-face conversation with a prospect, every time you're at a farmer's market, every time you are thinking about running an ad campaign. I want to make everything that you do better. And the golden thread that runs through all of these things is the heart of the message, right? This is also known as copywriting. This is one of the pieces of selling. Essentially, copywriting is just salesmanship in print, right? When you're speaking to someone, when you're speaking to a prospect and you're selling them a cow share, right? That is copy, essentially, because you're making a sales argument with words, right? But how do we take that idea and how do we develop it? That's what we want to talk about today. So just to set some context, this is me. It's picture me. Hey, there I am. Like I said before, my name is Chris Warzakowski. In a former life, I was a special education teacher. I taught elementary school, middle school, special ed, English, and also mathematics. I also own an agency where I do offer a variety of different marketing services, typically for e-commerce brands. And I like to stay clustered around the regenerative agriculture and meat space, subset of the food space. And I've also written a number of books on marketing, which you can find on Amazon. And, I have a number of clients in all different types of industries. Some you might recognize. The one that I'm probably best known for, at least around these parts, is obviously in my spare time, which there is not much of, but in my spare time, I'm also the CMO of Perennial Pastures Ranch. So Kevin and myself, we've been working together. Kevin Muno, who's the founder and owner of Perennial Pastures, we've been working together for, I don't know, maybe about 6 or 7 months now, if my memory serves correct. And we've seen a lot of growth in that time, and it's been a really fun journey so far, and can't wait to take it to the next level. But what I want to do is just share some things that obviously, we've been doing over there that have been working pretty well, and just some things that I've seen, in my 10 years of experience doing marketing for a number of different companies and different industries online, and even some, show you some campaigns that we've sent recently, and also for some other clients. So one of them being Carnivore Snacks, so I've written a ton of campaigns for, and I've been with Mark Ritz and Sylvia from the very start, from when I was around when they made their first dollar on that first ever Kickstarter campaign back in 2019, and now they're on track to do about 12 million this year, and I see no reason why they can't keep growing and growing and growing. And Mark is an incredible operator, and yeah, so I'll show you some things that we've done there as well. And the whole purpose of this is to give you ideas, to kind of spark your imagination and to give you confidence in yourself that you can grow your brand just by literally typing words on a computer. It's the coolest thing in the world. And I think you're going to love the sales that you see. And I think if you've been struggling to make sales and you can't figure out like why your ads and your emails and your social posts and your videos and these things or your tweets or your Facebook posts or whatever it is, your Instagram posts, why they haven't been converting, or they haven't been converting at the level that you want them to be, I hope that this presentation will kind of give you some ideas. And let me move myself over here. Yeah, there we go. Give you some ideas and really empower you to be able to do that. So next slide. Here we go. Today, I'm going to show you, whoops, that shouldn't go there. My bad. Let's go on this slide. I'm going to show you how to write ads that sell meat like crazy. Everything I just talked about. Now, the reason why this is important is that essentially, before we get into it, you need to understand that if a tree falls in the woods and no one is around to hear it, it does not make a sound. You've probably heard this saying. You probably heard the saying dozens, if not hundreds of times in your life, and it's very applicable here because what you have to understand is that you probably have better meat than anyone in your town, in your county, maybe even your entire state, right? You do things right. You raise your animals properly. You have better soil density. You have better nutrient profile in your animals. Your meat is more nutritious. It's more delicious. It's probably even better than most of the steakhouses around you, the meat that you're serving. And none of that really matters if no one knows that you exist. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's just the truth. I mean, people aren't just magically going to show up at your door. They're not just going to magically, randomly make their way to your website and to add items to their cart and check out, or to call you up and place an order for a cow share, or whatever your order process might be. Right? If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. You have to make a sound. You have to make a lot of sounds. You have to make a big, loud noise. Right? Doesn't mean you have to be flashy or be a jerk or be weird or funny, or it doesn't necessarily mean any of those kind of things. I mean, those are all tools in your toolbox, right? And different styles, right? Which we'll get into. But you don't necessarily have to do that. You just have to make some noise. You have to grab attention. That's what marketing is. It's capturing attention and then monetizing the attention, right? It's not as hard as it sounds. Marketing is a muscle. And some of you watching this, you might say, well, I'm not a marketer. That's okay. I wasn't a marketer either. I was a special education teacher. I did not go to school for this. I majored in sociology, which is just like the furthest thing from, salesmanship. So like literally the complete opposite of the spectrum. It's a muscle. It's like going to the gym. It's like you might be a scrawny weakling, but you go to the gym 3 times a week, every single week. You eat your protein. You eat, steak and eggs for breakfast, and again for dinner, and then muscles start to appear. That's the way it works. It's just time under tension, right? So like if you just continue to work at this and get better at it, it's going to might be a little bit slow at first, like anything. That's just the way life is. But eventually, things will compound, and you'll see hockey stick growth, which is really exciting. Your job as a founder and as an owner of your business is to sell meat and grow your business. Your job isn't to necessarily, be out there with the animals or do any of the other typical day-to-day tasks. Like, obviously, that's important. It might even be the thing that you love to do, and that's totally cool. But that might not be your job forever, right? Some of those other tasks might get replaced as your business grows and grows. Your job is to grow your business. That's the job of the founder, right? It is to increase the enterprise value of the organization that you are leading, right? And if you can't do that, then you need to find someone who can. But oftentimes it's very hard to replace that because you have the vision. You started your ranch for a reason, right? So your job is to put that vision that's in your mind and make it into a reality. And marketing is how you do that. And the thing too is like you've probably realized this, if you've hired people or worked with agencies and things like that, like no one is really going to care as much as you. And I had a mentor. His name is Zach Evanesh. He was my strength and conditioning coach. I wrestled through high school, and then I wrestled Division I at Rutgers University. And so I started working with Zach. I started learning from him. Actually, I started back in like 2003. Early days of the internet, I was like following him. I was on his email list. He had like ebooks, and I would like mow lawns to make money to buy his ebooks, and I like devoured everything this guy put out. And then eventually, I started training at his gym a few towns over. And then I became a strength coach for him, and he would teach me a lot of lessons about business. And, it was amazing to watch, especially when I was young, because, my family wasn't entrepreneurial. My dad was a banker. He worked in New York City. My mom was a school teacher, right? So I didn't really have like a ton of people who own their own businesses. I didn't really like understand that whole world, but I would watch what Zach would do and how he would run his business and how he would like end of the shift and he'd be cleaning the bathrooms, right? There was one time he came out of the bathroom and I was cleaning up like the weights and putting barbells back and things, and he was like, like cleaning the toilet seat and everything, and I was like, man, like it's crazy. This guy, he's like the owner of the business. Like, there's got to be a better way. Like, why does he have to do that? I always wondered. One time he just came out and he looked at me and he said, no one is going to care about your business as much as you do. And he said that to me multiple times. It always stuck with me. And now with my own business, I understand it. And again, I have wonderful team members. I've had wonderful contractors that I've worked with, friends who've helped me out. But at the end of the day, like it's principal agent problem. Like if I'm the one who owns the equity and owns all the asymmetrical upside, I'm going to care more than everyone because I have to, because why would someone care more than me, right? You can bring people along on your mission, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to be that person to care enough to do the hard things that are required to grow this organization and make it a thing that will be a lasting, durable, profitable business for years to come. That is your job, right? It's a big job. It's an important job. Might even be a little bit intimidating, but it's your job. And I think you're up for the task. I think you need to give yourself credit if you're feeling a little bit unsure about that. And then the last reason why this is important is that meat will save the world. I really think that people are screwed up. People are screwed up physically, they're screwed up mentally, they are screwed up emotionally, and they are screwed up spiritually. And I think it all comes down, there's a lot of issues, a lot of issues, not going to get into everything right now. I could speak for hours, but I think that a lot of it comes down to physiological causes, right? A number of different things. I think people are unhealthy. I don't think they lead healthy lifestyles. I think a big part of that is the food that they eat. I think a lot of the food that they eat is poison. I think a lot of it is bullshit. It's like if you've ever seen, there's this episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, if you've ever watched that show or if your kids ever watched that show, and they go to there's this like fake Krabby Patty restaurant and they go and it looks like a Krabby Patty on the outside and you bite into it and it's just this gray goo. And like I feel like every food in the supermarket is just gray goo. It's all soybean oil or it's just fake. It's everything's just processed and fake. But meat is not. Meat is real. Meat is nature's original superfood. It's nutrient dense. And cows, as we know, regenerate the land. They regenerate the topsoil, which is important for the future of our country and the security of our country, and the health of our soil and our ability to feed our people. This goes far deeper than just, hey, I like meat, it tastes good, right? Like, this is super duper important. And all these people who are obsessed with climate change and everything else, like, did they eat regenerative? Probably not. A lot of those people might be hypocrites. They might not understand the real causes of the environmental factors around them. And they don't understand that regenerative agriculture is actually great for the climate and what it does. And it's great for the land. And it's great for the animals. It's better for the animals than factory farming practices. It's better for us because we're not ingesting meat that is raised in a suboptimal condition from a sick animal, right? So I do believe that, you never know. Like, sometimes there's just one or two things you need to get right, and the domino effect of those big decisions ripple out. And if we got more people to eat meat and eat better meat and eat better quality meat and care about these things, who knows? Who knows what could happen? You never know. I mean, throughout history, there's a lot of examples of one person changing the world or changing the course of the world. Person might be you, might be one of your friends, could be you, right? So that's why this stuff's important. It's important to me. I know it's important to you. So what I want to do is get into it. And I don't have like a ton of slides of bullets, and I've done that before. It's cool for certain concepts, but I kind of just want to get my hands dirty with you watching this right now. Hope if I could exit, that would be cool. If I could, my keyboard will stop, or whatever this is. If I could exit out of this anytime soon, that would be cool. Let me pause this. Oh. Okay, and we are back. All right, so let's get into it. So what I want to do is I want to talk about mass meat marketing. How do you come up with ideas for advertisements, for marketing pieces, for pieces of copy, for Facebook ads, for Google ads, for YouTube videos, for Instagram reels, for Instagram stories, for Twitter posts, for LinkedIn posts? How do you come up with this stuff, right? I think any great advertiser, marketer, no one starts from scratch. That's what I've learned in my career. And it doesn't mean you go out and say, oh, this is a good ad, I'm just going to copy this ad. But it's nice to look at, there's the saying, success leaves clues, right? And I believe that that's true. And I like looking at like whenever I'm like stuck for ideas, or I need ideas to kind of get me started and just kind of like give my brain a little bit of a warm up, what I'll do is I'll just start looking at old ads. And this is really fun to do. And, I talked about marketing being a muscle. Like, this is kind of like something you do to start building that marketing muscle within your brain, right? So when we're talking about selling meat, you have to understand is meat is not a new product. Meat is the oldest product there is, essentially, right? Just about, meat and grain, essentially, I guess, if you go back on a far enough timeline. So meat's not a new product that requires this amazing new sales message that no one's ever heard before. There's a lot of good sales angles, and there's a lot of people and agencies and really, really smart agencies and really, really smart advertisers, people who've gotten paid millions or tens of millions or even billions of dollars maybe to find what works, right? And we could leverage that. And we could say, these people have done millions of dollars of market research. They've done millions of dollars of testing. They've seen the results of millions of dollars of actually running ads and determining which ones work and A/B split testing things. So we could leverage that. So if you're ever like stuck and say, I don't even know how to write an ad, I don't even know how to do marketing for my ranch, I don't know how to sell. Okay, well, why don't we just start by warming up, getting loose, getting some blood in those muscles and loosen those joints up and take a look at some old ads, right? So, there's all you need to do is essentially use Google. Google's your friend, right? There's this great one that I found, this article. I mean, I'm going to show you a bunch of different things right now, and we're going to kind of talk through, and you're going to see like how looking at these old ads is going to kind of give us some ideas for how we sell meat, because you can't say, hey, I have meat, come buy it, right? I mean, like, I guess if someone's starving, if it's a starving crowd and they have no other option, yes, that'll work. But most people have their supermarket. I have 5, 6, 7 supermarkets within a 2-mile radius of my house. I live in New Jersey, so it's very, densely populated. But I can get to a supermarket in 5 minutes, or another one in 5 minutes the other direction, right? It's very easy for me to get meat. There's no shortage of meat, right? But why would I skip all those options and buy meat from a rancher who might live an hour away, or where I might have to get it shipped and wait a few days and then unpack the box and everything else, right? And then thaw the meat out, right? Like, why would I do that? Well, because we need to elevate the sales messaging. And so let's take a look at some of these old classic meat ads. Like, this is, I want to show you some old ads, and then we're going to look at some ones that I've actually written and some that members of my team have written. But I like looking at like, well, why do people buy meat, and how have people successfully sold meat in the past? And like, this is a great ad, and I'm just going to read some little pieces, some clips. These are mostly, I think, all from American Meat Institute, and this is an old, vintage ad. I don't know the year this is from, but look at how they sell this. This is not just a piece of meat. This is something a man wants to come home to. Something that helps children to grow. Something that makes women proud of their meals. So right there we have three angles, right? Now you might not necessarily agree with using those angles, or you might not love those angles, or you might love them, right? It doesn't really matter. It's not really the point about like, oh, I'm going to use this or not. It's just getting our ideas stimulated, right? This is how we think about the creative process. Like good ideas come from somewhere. They usually come from the combination of a number of smaller good ideas into one big explosive idea, right? And I'm going to show you examples of that. So just bear with me here. So I like this one though. This is pretty funny. This is a symbol of a man's desire, his will to survive. For as old as man's instinct to live is his liking for meat and to be satisfied in its eating. Is it any wonder that as meat moves back to the home plate, we look on meat with new regard, not just for its enjoyment, but as a nutritional cornerstone of life. So like this is really kind of tapping into emotions without really selling any hard benefits. It's not like, hey, it's got a lot of vitamin B, like that's what, and again, that's an angle too. That works too, right? But this is a very different style of ad. This is very like it's doesn't even like it's about meat, but it's really not about meat. It's about humanity, right? So it's like interesting how they did this, right? Let's see if we can find some different ones. Meat, you're right in liking it, right? So this is almost like it's like this one would probably work, a variation of this would work probably well today because there's all this Beyond Beef bullshit out there and this impossible to eat, impossible to digest patties that they sell at the supermarket. Literally, talk about fake Krabby Patties, gray goo in the fucking. I can't. I'm sorry. I get carried away. Sometimes. But meat, you're right in liking it. Like, this would be even more contrarian today, which is kind of funny. It usually doesn't happen with vintage ads; it goes the other way. Again, this is the same variation. I wouldn't probably create an ad of this unless it's just an organic Instagram post or something, or maybe a Facebook ad post with some extra context in the actual ad itself. But it's interesting, right? A complete protein food. Now, this is something too. Like most people, there's people out there who eat meat. They probably eat meat every day, right? But if we want to convert those people, right, and they're like, there's layers. There's layers of the market. There's layers to the onion as you peel it back, right? There's people who are hardcore carnivore, who only eat regenerative, who have a cow share in their second freezer or third freezer at all times, and those are like the easy sells. Like you don't really need to work hard to sell those people. But there's people out there who might be like, they might see you at a farmer's market and say, huh, regenerative agriculture, like what is that? Like what's a regenerative cattle ranch? Like what is that? Why is that important? Right? They're lower awareness level, right? There's people out there who think, oh, protein, I'll go eat a bag of almonds. Like, no. That's not even an animal protein. It doesn't have all the essential amino acids, right? Like, do people understand the advantage of eating meat and specifically eating your meat, right? So a complete protein food. Why do we say complete? Because the protein in meat contains all the amino acids essential to growth and well-being. That's why meat is being served so much oftener, 2 to 3 times a day, and to very young children too. There's another angle within the overarching angle, right? In terms of, hey, you want your kids to grow up and be strong. You don't want them to be stunted. You don't want them to miss out on developing their brains or their bodies or being shorter than they need to be because they were fed, they eat nothing but grains and veggies and missed out on all those complete essential amino acids, right? That's how we do it, right? This one, whatever. Bologna. I don't think most of us sell bologna. Nourishing meat, don't waste a bit of it. Empty the platter, clean the plate, polish the bone. And when your meat man says, what will be today, Mrs. Jones, don't forget for the leaner grades, the less familiar cuts, the better buys, because they're all good nourishing meat. Every cut, every kind gives us that complete high quality protein of the kind we need for good red blood, for sturdy growth, for feeling fit. So this is a nose to tail eating ad, right? Like it's very different and it's so vintage and I love it. But like nose to tail used to be in and now it's kind of getting chic again, right? So it's like, how do we look to old ads and say, that's how they did it. Now, would you write an ad in this exact same style with this kind of almost like transatlantic accent? You can imagine it being read off, a radio and someone with a transatlantic accent from like the 1940s. Probably not, right? We'll probably adapt it. We'd adapt it for our own voice, but it's interesting to see, again, some angles are eternal. Some angles are timeless, right? Nose to tail, right? Educating people about, hey, did you know you could do this too? And this actually might be good for you. It might be healthy. Hey, look at that. We got a little retargeting ad for carnivore snacks. We'll go there soon. nourishing meat. You knew it was good, but did you know it was this good, right? So like doing comparisons about, not only the meats against each other, but just meats in general as foods in terms of being excellent, you know, complete protein, iron, B vitamin levels, those kind of things, right? Nourishing bacon, fill up the skillet. What's really cool about this one that I really like is this little piece at the bottom. When do you need more protein? A breakfast that supplies plenty of good protein helps wind off mid-morning fatigue. Okay, so there's another angle. So look at all the angles we have. We have nose to tail eating. We have having your kids grow up healthy and having their brains develop and their bones develop and their muscles develop and them reach, their height because they're getting the right nutrients and they're not undernourished. You have tapping into the primal desire of man, the primal desire of woman, right? Like there's so many good angles that we're like this is just the ideation phase. Like we don't necessarily need to put pen to paper, but look at as you we're reading through these, we're starting to get a lot of good ideas about, okay, I understand why people buy these products. I understand what they're. I think I might have froze. Hopefully I didn't freeze. Oh, I think we're back. Okay. I got this. Is what happens when you have a lot of tabs open, right? So we'll see if we can X out of some of these soon. Um, Nourishing meat that comes in cans, maybe. How to make 3 fresh cooked meals from 1 pork butt. I'll tell you what, a perennial, when we use recipes and emails and things, they tend to work really well. You probably have tried that yourself because people need ideas for, meat's it's not a finished product, where like you have to cook it, you have to do something with it, right? When you get it, or you can just throw it on the grill, but it still requires some work to finish it. And even then, people want to know marinades, they want to know spice rubs, they want to know, what to serve with it. So great advertisement. Think, this is something I could adapt for my own ranch, right? Let's see, it was good. That's a variation of the other one from before. Nourishing meat, complete protein food, another variation. I like this headline. Santa's wiener is a little too close to that Xmas ham. Santa Claus carves the ham. What's more fitting than the jolly old gentleman in the bright red suit presiding over those fragrant pink slices? Ham is festive. Ham is gay. Ham is in tune with the holiday. So bake it and carve it. Meat lovers of America, for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And what a happy gift idea, too. So again, like when you see this ad, I'm a student of advertising, right? A self-taught student of advertising. And I think about like, why do you feel something when you see Coca-Cola ads? Even if you don't drink Coca-Cola, when you see those polar bears, when you see Santa in the Coca-Cola ads, and the Coca-Cola ads are all designed to make you feel good. And it's just sugar water in a glass, or it used to be glass, now it's a plastic bottle, right? But like, why do you feel something? Because they're bringing emotions into it, right? And what's interesting about this ad is, like, how would you do this ad for yourself, right? Well, what you could do is you could tell a story that's maybe gives people an emotional rise from your own childhood, from a memory maybe of what your parents or your grandparents used to make, for Christmas dinner when you were, if you celebrate Christmas, or any other holiday, right? From when you were 5 or 7 or 10 years old or 14, or there's always an emotional tie-in, or it could be, if you really want to pull on the heartstrings, it could be like, the last time a loved relative was their last Christmas or their last Thanksgiving or something, and like what that was like and what it meant for you, and how you could still smell the aroma of the ham or of the pot roast or whatever it is. Like now we're really pulling on some heartstrings. We're making some people tear up as they read that email, and we make an emotional attachment to the food, and that's how it sells, right? It's not the only way that we could sell it, but again, we're just thinking of ideas, right? And I'll tell you what, when you write emails like that, people feel the connection. They feel the energy emanating from the screen. They could feel the energy you had when your fingers were clickety clacking on the keyboard, right? So I know this is all very abstract, but there is an energy transfer there. So there's always ways that we could take these angles and adapt them, right? So let's go to some other ones here. We'll just do a couple more of these. I just want to cycle through a few of these. You're writing like meat, contains so many things that are good for you. We kind of saw that one already. Let's see this one. Meat and life-giving plasma. This is really interesting. Now, like, would you run a Facebook ad about it? No, right? But as an email, as a social post, as something where it's free to post, like an email or a social post, this is an interesting angle, right? Good red blood given freely and gladly by patriotic Americans so that somewhere a fighter may have a better chance to withstand the shock of battle wounds and return to health at home. Anyone in good health can easily give blood without any discomfort. Replacement soon occurs. The fluid part of the blood is restored in a matter of hours, but the corpuscles are rebuilt more slowly. Protein plays an important role in blood restoration. Okay, so I'm just going to stop right there. how do I sell meat? Well, there's a lot of ways to sell meat, right? But like for me, if I'm testing on angles, like, and I'm thinking, well, I want to send an email every week, or I actually like sending an email every day. That's something we're working towards a perennial. For my own business, I do it every day. And so, like, how do I dimensionalize? There's this concept of dimensionalization, which means how do you essentially take the feature of the product, and we talk about features, and there's the benefit of the feature, and then the dimensionalization of the benefit is like the third step. And what that means is, like, how does the benefit change the person's life, right? This is a good example of a dimensionalization of a benefit. And I know I'm getting like very esoteric, like into like esoteric advertising concepts and theories. So like I don't want anyone to get like lost in the sauce. It's really not that complex. It's just like, okay, you have the thing, and the thing does this for you, and as a result of that thing getting done, here's how your life is better or different or changed or improved or transformed, right? And so this is a great example of doing that. Now, again, they're running American Meat Institute's running tons of different angles, right? But like, I'd love to write an email about, like, one of the amazing things that most people don't realize when they're trying to, heal their body, especially after, major injury or things, like, your body needs protein, your body needs healthy fat, your body needs essential amino acids, because when you have these things present in the bloodstream, blah, 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 blah. It reminds me of my Uncle Larry, who got kicked in the chest by a horse and he almost died. And then when he was laying in the hospital, one thing they wanted to do was they blended up ribeyes and had him drink it through a straw. Okay, this is a completely made up story. I'm just riffing off the top of my head, right? So, but okay, there's a demonstration of the benefit of the product. Now we're dimensionalizing it and attaching that further, outcome to what happens after you use the product. So just things to think about, right? Like, and we're just getting ideas at this phase. We're getting ideas. This is how you fill your head with ideas. So you're not starting from a blank page. You're not starting like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I can't do it. Yes, you can. Angles. It's all about angles and hooks. Okay. Nourishing bacon, we saw this one already. The other one, meat on the table. Now, again, different angle. I'm not going to read the copy here, but this is essentially they were shipping a lot of meat over to the soldiers during, I believe, both World Wars. Well, I mean, probably every war, but specifically these ads. I think this was for World War One. It looks like, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, 1943. So it's for World War Two, but I guess in here they reference World War One. So it's like, well, how do we extract the essence of an ad like this and repurpose it into something we could use to sell our meat? Well, okay, we talk about maybe, some of you watching this might have been veterans, right? It's like, did you eat meat when you're on deployment? It's like, why did you eat meat? Why didn't they just feed you uh, Beyond Beef bullshit burgers? You know what I mean? Well, the reason why is because they wanted you to be fueled properly, right? And like, okay, so there's a demonstration of a benefit, right? Like, why is meat important? Why is meat important for soldiers? I mean, you could take this back into like ancient Roman times, ancient Greek times. Like, why were they fed meat instead of grains mostly, right? Like, so there's many layers to this angle, right? But it's like, you see this angle, you're like, oh yeah, I could write an angle, or maybe my uncle was in the war, or my grandfather, or my father, or whoever it was, or they were a soldier, and like they used to tell stories about how they would get excited when they got meat. It's like, well, why do they get excited? Like, can we extract the essence of that and use that story, right? Use that demonstration in a marketing piece for our ranch, for your ranch. Let's just do a couple more of these. This one we saw. This one, I don't remember what I want to say about that. Here's another one. This is not for, I don't know if I'd consider this meat. It's shellfish, right? But there's this really famous ad, Guinness's Guide to Oysters. So this was to sell Guinness beer, actually, but they, essentially talked about pairing beer with oysters, which is pretty cool and creative. And it's this educational piece. This is almost like the origin of the concept of an advertorial, if you're familiar with that word, which is just a mix. It's just they jammed the word advertisement and editorial together, so it looks like a content piece that is an ad that actually sells something. So again, like, you could do an ad like this, or you could have an article like this, or your own advertorial, or your own social post, or your own Twitter thread about like the different cuts. The Perennial Pasturer's Guide to Cow Shares, the Perennial Pasturer's Guide to Nose-Tail Eating, the Perennial Pasturer's Guide to Paleo, the Perennial Pasturer's Guide to Carnivore, right? Like, there's so many ways you could spin it. And again, like, anyone could essentially do this, like, if you just know to look at old frameworks and say, how would I adapt this and make it better, or make it mine, and not copy it, but pay homage to it by taking the essence of the idea and then, making it your own by changing it up for your industry, right? Kind of like how, there's famous examples of this. One of the most famous examples of you taking a concept from one industry and applying it to another is like, fast food restaurants became that way because they saw that banks were doing the drive-through, they had drive-through tellers, right? So then the fast food restaurants started doing that, and that became an industry-changing thing. And there's another ad that I know at Grassfed Marketing they like to talk about, and this is Gary Bensamanga. And I actually met him in person. He's a wonderful person, one of the best copywriters to ever live. But I'm not going to read this yet. But if you want to see like people like, oh, it's meat. Well, what do I say about it? Well, it's ham. It's chicken. Like it's poultry. Like there's not much to say. It's good. It's got nutrients. Like okay, read this ad, and then tell me you don't have much to say. I mean, this is one of the best copywriters to ever live in direct response copywriters to ever live. Gary Bensamanga, right? So you're probably not going to write this level. I don't even write this level. This is like next level, right? Maybe one day, hopefully, by the end of my career. But he makes you taste the ham as you're reading the ad, and it's like you cannot live without the ham anymore, right? So I want to show how that kind of spins out. I'm going to show you, two brands that I work with. I'll show you Perennial Pastures, and then we're going to jump over some carnivore snack stuff, and I want to show you, how this actually plays out. Right. So we talk about angles. We talk about writing advertisements and then making sales from them. And when I'm going to use the word advertisement, essentially these can be used anywhere. They could, what's cool about when you write an email specifically, or if you write any kind of ad, it could usually be repurposed any number of which ways, right? So this is an email that I wrote for Perennial. And the subject line was, if you only knew how bad things really are. So it was a bit of curiosity, right? It's like, whoa. Bad about what? Like, what's bad? Like, it's very kind of mysterious, right? And where did I get the idea for this email? Like, what I try to tell people about marketing and copy and, growing your brand and think about marketing your brand is ideas are everywhere. Ideas are floating around your head. You just need to grab them, right? I read this book about the history of the public relation industries. I think it was published in 1994 and 1996. I can't remember the exact date, but it was called Toxic Sludge is Good for You. It was actually a really good book. It was kind of like a really rare find, but I was so glad I read it. And chapter 8 was called, that was the one where they talked about toxic sludge, for which the book is titled. And it's crazy because the story in that chapter was about the EPA. They were noticing there was all this chemical waste in the country, and there was like human fecal matter flowing into sewage processing plants, and it was all getting kind of combined in these sewage plants. And they were like, well, what do we do with all this stuff? Like, where do we put it? What do we do? So what they did was they hired a PR firm to help them. They said, well, we got to get rid of it, so I guess we can give it to farmers to fertilize crops. I want to vomit as I'm thinking about that, right? Like human fecal matter combined with chemical waste, like can't be good for you, can't be good for the farm, can't be good for the soil, can't be good for the ranchers, can't be good for anyone, can't be good for the end consumer, can't be good for the animals, can't be good for the planet, right? So whatever, the EPA is going to do what the EPA does, I guess, right? So this is what they did, was they not only started giving this out as free fertilizer, but then they had to rebrand it, and that's where the PR spin comes in, right? And they were spreading it all across the country. And, they had these clever names like Organite and Black Gold and NutriCake and GeoSlime and things that don't sound so bad. It's like, oh, wow, Organite, what's that? NutriCake, that sounds delicious. GeoSlime, cool, right? Like, it's fucking literal toxic sludge. Literally in, at its base, it's toxic sludge. It's human fecal matter combined with chemical waste. Horrible, absolutely horrible. But PR firms are going to do what they're paid for, right? So, I took this concept and I said, wow, this is really screwed up. And this is why it's important to know your rancher, because guess what? A perennial, we don't use toxic sludge. We wouldn't touch it. We wouldn't come within a mile of it. We wouldn't allow it to come within, 20 miles of the ranch, right? Like we'd say, absolutely not. Get out of here. No way. We would never use anything like that. And in fact, we invite you to come down to the ranch so we could show you how we raise our animals, right? And try our meat. And do the taste test, right? See what you like better. And so we just took a story and we made a segue into our product, right? And again, like if you want, you can shoot me an email. I could forward this email to you. It's pretty, I won't get too my own horn. I think it's pretty good. It did pretty well. Made a number of sales for us, which is nice. But essentially, the truth is when you buy from the supermarket, you have no idea how it's raised, processed, or transported. With Perennial Pastures, you get the best of the best. Come out to the ranch, see for yourself. In the meantime, if you need some better than grass-fed beef, you subscribe to our Ancestral Blend subscription box. Blah, 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 blah. Call to action, right? So when we're looking at an email like this is not hard to write. I'm not creating anything. I'm not being Don Draper here. You don't have to be. All I'm doing is say, hey, here's a story from my life. I was reading this thing. It's really crazy. I thought it was really effed up. I think you think it's effed up too. And you tell the story and you say, by the way, if you want to avoid all this nasty, you just buy from us. And that's how it's done. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, right? I think there was something else I wanted to say about this. Oh, yeah. What we want to do is like, there's this concept that it's kind of sounds negative, but I don't know any other way to put it. It's the best working analogy that I have. But it's like you really want to poison all other wells, essentially, right? You want to make it so that the only water that your customer is drinking from is your well. Okay? And let me explain what I mean by this. You need to plant a seed of doubt in your customer's mind. Because again, what are we doing here? We are changing behavior, changing it in a positive way. Most people are so screwed up in their brains. There's this term, it's called a psyop, like when someone has run a psychological operation to get you to think a certain way, and most of not all of the time it's to think in a way that's not advantageous to you, because there's some outside influence who says, I want these people to think this way so I can get away with doing whatever I'm doing. So most people have been psyoped. Again, the person who's like, almonds are a great source of protein, that person's been psyoped. They have no idea about anything, right? They're like screwed up in the head. They need to be like reset to neutral, essentially. Like we need to push the reset button back to the factory settings. Like that's what we need to do in their brain. And this is how we do that. We have to unpsyop them. We have to unscrew them up, if that makes sense. We have to get them to see clearly and see through the cloud that is shrouding their eyes, essentially, right? So the way that we do that is we say, it's not really poisoning the well because the water that they're drinking from is already poisoned, right? The meat that they're buying from the grocery store is already terrible, right? So unless they're buying, unless your ranch is locally supplying the grocery stores, in which case, and they're buying from you already, okay, well then they're getting good meat. But if they're just buying regular factory farm meat from one of these big conglomerates, like they're not getting good stuff. They don't even know what they're getting. They don't know what they're putting in their body, right? So it's like, how do we not actually poison the well? That's an analogy, it's a metaphor, right? But how do we make it so that we close off all the doors and say, this is the only option I could do? I can't buy meat from the grocery store anymore. I can't buy meat from these other places. Omaha Steaks, absolutely not. I would never, right? I'm going to buy it from this local ranch where I could shake the rancher's hand. I could look him or her in the eye and say, I know you, I trust you, I see what you're doing, I like what you're doing, I want to support you, right? So that's what we have to change the behavior. And again, it's not changing the behavior in a nefarious way. It's literally resetting them back to neutral. It's getting their head back on straight instead of, being spun around and crooked, right? So I just want to show you that. And like, here's some other examples, right? This one's a little bit more salesy, but it's great copy. Liquid gold is here, and that's what we call our tallow. We call it liquid gold, right? So we kind of attach a fun name to it. Let me just exit this off here. So Suture from our team wrote this one. We know many of you have been waiting for this moment. It's finally here. Our small batch grass-fed, finished, pasture-raised, regeneratively grazed beef tallow is now live on our site and available to order. It's small batch, though, which means we can only make small batches of this product at a time and have limited quality that sells out quick. So, this is a very straightforward sales email, but look at all the copy, great copy. In case you're new to the tallow train, you might still be wondering, what is tallow? So again, there's an educational piece, right? And we think about some of those old American Meat Institute, like they're doing a good job of educating, right? Because some people might be very aware. Some people are like, oh, I use tallow all the time and now I'm just going to buy it from you instead. Or they might be like, I've heard of tallow, but like, why do I need it? Or they might say, what's tallow? So that's 3 different awareness levels right there. And we could hit all of them in the same email. And again, all this copy, do you know where else we could use it? We could turn it into a Twitter post or an Instagram post or a Facebook post or a LinkedIn post. We can make a video about it and put it on YouTube. We can make a video about it and put it on any of those other channels I just mentioned. We could run it as a Facebook ad. We could turn it into a video ad. We could, put it on a flyer at a farmer's market and stick it in someone's bag with their order as we hand them the order and say, hey, by the way, check out our tallow, and here's a little one-pager information, a little ad for it, right? So again, you get a lot of mileage out of creating messaging assets for your brand, right? I'll just go through this quickly. We love tallow because it's got a high smoke point, adds incredible flavor to meals, great alternative to seed oils. You can use beef tallow for searing your meat in, roasting your veggies in, even frying your potatoes in. Yum. You can even use it as an alternative to lotion used on your skin, which I do just about every single day. It's been especially great for moisturizing these warm and dry summer days. So again, there's a little bit of a benefit to go along with the feature, right? And then we have some calls to action. So Solid. Is this hard to do? I don't think so, right? Imagine I'm standing in front of you and you hold up the jar and say, "Hey, I got some liquid gold." And I say, well, "What is that?" You say, "Oh, let me tell you about it." Right? All you're doing is transcribing that, like what you would say in a face-to-face conversation. Like you don't have to be a trained copywriter. You have to read 100 copywriting books. You just got to literally sell how you would sell to a person in person and just write it down. So I want to show you another example. And I talked about this concept of like repurposing. And I've talked about this before in the grass-fed community, but I know I'm going fast with these emails. I have a lot to show, and I don't know how long this is supposed to be. I'll probably make it go an hour, maybe a little bit more. Sorry if I went over, but I don't care. I got a lot to say, and I want to help you, so I don't care. It's for your own good. Should I just buy my meat from the supermarket? And I kind of like it as a little trick. I kind of like doing these. It's like voice of customer, right? It's like this is what your customers say. You put it in quotes because then it's like, oh, I wonder if someone said that to Kevin or said that to the perennial team, or it was a question they got and they're kind of like answering. It's kind of like implied, oh, they're going to answer the question. And maybe I have the same thought too, so I'm going to open this email and read it. One of the biggest concerns people have when considering buying from our online stores is this cheaper than buying meat from the local supermarket? And this is a big objection, and it's one that you're going to have to overcome too. Every single person watching this is going to have to overcome this because I guarantee your product is going to be higher priced than what they get in the supermarket. But again, what do they get in the supermarket? They don't get this quality of meat. And not only is the meat way worse, if the supermarket was to sell your meat, the price would be so much higher for the most part, um, comparatively speaking, where you might see a lower price tag, but actually, like in terms of quality and nutrient density, all those other things, and all the nasties that are in the factory farm meat that they find in the supermarket, like it's really a much better deal to buy from you. So we're kind of, again, we are poisoning all their wells. We're closing all the doors, right? When you buy meat in a retail environment, you're like paying a huge markup. Sure, you might find a particular cut of steak that's $1, $2 less than what we charge, but the quality is night and day. Steak in the supermarket might be a couple dollars cheaper, but it's also injected with antibiotics and vaccines and God knows what else. Fattened on corn and soy instead of grass-fed and grass-finished. Raised in factory farms, sick and stressed from a lifetime of improper, unnatural breeding practices. No good. Our meat is some of the best you can find anywhere. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Call to action. Okay? What's cool about this is you can now take this and you can turn it into a thread, which is what we do with a lot of good assets. If you follow us on Twitter, look at this: 43,500 views, 119 likes, 22 retweets, 47 bookmarks. Not bad, right? It's the email. It's the same. We just took the email, turned it into a Twitter thread with a picture, right? And we don't have we have 4,500 followers. Yeah, 4,492. So it's literally, look, I mean, it's look at the screen. It's the email. And we have call to action, right? Hey, look, there's me. So essentially, like I said, we're going to write once and get paid multiple times from it, right? Another one, what the heck is a cow share? Hopefully this one loads. I believe we took this one, turned it into a Twitter thread as well, although I just don't have it handy. Forgive me, but check out our Twitter and you can find it. And then I'll show you another. Oh, let me exit this. Let me show you another example. Exit this one too. I eat this burger twice a week. This is another one Sutra wrote about, how she's been eating these burgers, and again, dimensionalization of the product, right? Like feature, benefit, dimensionalization. Here's a demonstration of how we use the product. Look at this burger. This looks fantastic. And it's cooked with ancestral blend ground beef. So again, we're giving people reasons to buy. We're showing them how to use the product. We're getting them more familiar, more comfortable with it. And we're kind of making them salivate a little bit. And what's cool is Sutra included the recipe, worked incredibly well for us. Now, is there a reason we can't turn this into social posts and put it everywhere? Of course not. We can absolutely do that, right? We could even do it as a lead magnet, like, hey, take a look at this burger. You want the recipe? Like, enter your email here and sign up, right? There's a lot of things you could do with this, which is really, really cool. So again, and all of these things make sales. It's not hard to do. It's pretty easy, actually. Like, it's really not that difficult. I want to show you just a couple more things, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. I know we got 10 to 15 minutes left, or at least I'm saying that we do. So I want to show you another brand that I work with, and depending on what order they're doing these talks in, you may have heard from Mark Ritz already, or you might not have heard from Mark. But Mark is the one of the founders of Carnivore Snacks. I take a very different voice when I write stuff for Carnivore Snacks. And Mark's awesome. He gives me a lot of creative freedom, which I'm very thankful for. And we get to have a lot of fun with the copy, right? And you don't have to write in this voice, but what's cool about this is we take a lot of these and repurpose these into text messages. Some of these could even become automations, right? In terms of automated flows and things like that. They can become social posts and Twitter posts and Instagram post captions and things like that. And so we just get a lot of mileage out of all of these assets that we use. And the thing is, if it worked once, like I said, you can automate a lot of these things. You can put them into a welcome sequence. You can put them into a cross-selling sequence. You can put them into a browse abandonment sequence. If someone checks out this product and doesn't buy, we could hit them with this email automated. Like we send it out as a broadcast. If it does well, we just turn it into an automation. Not too hard, right? What did the Buffalo say when this kid left for college? It's like a stupid dad joke riddle, right? But I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny in the context of a subject line, so I said, let's give it a shot. So if you guess buy, son, then you, my friend, are a winner. Do you get the joke? Because it sounds like he's saying buy, son. You know what? Never mind. Let's start over. This is for Bison Sliders, this product, which is a new product that Mark and the team are introducing. Carnivore snacks Bison Sliders are here. Here's where you're going to want to chew through the foil to gnash your chompers on this brand new cut. While the bald eagle might be the national bird, the bison is a symbol of the Old West. This beautiful creatures greeted cowboys as they drove into no man's land, providing the food and the leather they needed to tame the wild, wild west. Without the bison, America just ain't America. Moreover, I don't know if I'm going to read it in this accent, but in your internal monologue, I wanted you to read in this accent. Over-exaggerated 1840s Texas cowboy voice. I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to read it normal. Forgive me if you're from Texas. I love Texas. I have a lot of friends from Texas. You can make fun of my Jersey accent all day. Bison age is for nourishing cowfolk on the dusty trail, I reckon. In fact, I reckon some of the most delicious and nutritious protein source on God's green earth. Darn tootin'. For realsies, though, bison is absolutely packed with lean protein, yet despite the inherent leanness of the meat, it still maintains the exceptional texture you've come to grow and love from carnivore snacks. You can dip them, you can chomp them, you can chew them. You don't leave home without them. Saddle up and ride on over to the product page before I stick my 6-shooter up your. Whoa there, partner! Almost forgot my manners. You're gonna love sliding these delicious little sliders down your gullet. Here's the rub: these bison sliders are up for grabs only for 48 hours to non-members. After that, they become a members-only exclusive. They're only available in limited quantities. Be sure to snag this deal before it's gone, partner. Now go buy some meat, right? So, these ones do well, and there's a lot of personality. There's a lot of voice. There's a lot of fun. You don't have to write your emails like this. Again, like some people are funny, some people aren't. If you're not funny, it's not a big deal. You don't have to be. Like I've written, now, a few years ago, it was like over 10,000 emails for clients. I don't even know what it is now, between myself and clients, I should say. Written so many, chiefs so many. I've seen so much copy, right? So like you don't have to go this crazy. But if you are funny and you want to take some creative angles and do some things to sell your product, make your people laugh, like by all means, have at it, right? So this one, I think I have this up twice. This one, what was this one? Let's see this one. We like beef cuts and we cannot lie. Now raise your hand if you know what song I'm kind of playing on here. It's Baby Got Back, Sir Mix-a-Lot, right? We like beef cuts and we cannot lie. Just relax, keep it together, keep it cool, resist the urge to break out that Baby Got Snacks remix you've been working on for months now. Can't hold back much longer. You know what? Forget it. You're not ready for it. You can't handle these bars. Let me refocus you on our insanely delicious beef cuts. Try one, try them all. Why not? Let's just get crazy. YOLO, am I right? Get snacks now. So it's like what's even going on here? It's kind of funny. The funny thing is I actually wrote an entire couple verses of. Yeah, I hope Mark doesn't mind me sharing this. I wrote a couple verses of Baby Got Snacks, the actual Chris Orzechowski remix. Although that will be forever left on the cutting room floor. I'm sorry, I don't think you'll ever be able to see the light of day to see that one. But anyway, let's move on. Good ask Mark. Maybe we'll share it. Let's see this one. Kale chips equals very sus, not bussin'. So I love, some of you might have kids who are like Zoomers, with the broccoli hair and they wear the Crocs and I don't know, they have these weird words and things. I'm like obsessed. I think it's so funny. I'm like obsessed a little bit. Like oh man, this is bussin'. Like what are these words, right? So, I just like talking shit about kale and people who eat it because I think it's funny, and I think those people are mostly, stupid for that. So let's get in this one for most of, and plus, like, it's a good rallying cry. Like your customers, like sometimes it's good to throw rocks at common enemies, and like if you're a carnivore, you don't eat kale. you probably don't eat any vegetables, but if you do, you definitely ain't eating kale. You're not eating freaking kale chips, right? Like absolutely not. And I recognize that. I think kale's disgusting. I think it's probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever put in my mouth. And I've drank dip spit before, right? A number of times. Okay, I've drank dip spit way more times than I care to admit. However, kale's right up there. I think it probably goes like kale and then dip spit right underneath it. Anyway, for most of human history, kale was used as a pretty decoration on salad bars next to bowls of actual food. This mustard leaf is full of phytotoxins and is actually the third most contaminated vegetable according to Time magazine. And this is where we really lay it on thick. There's a special look of pain behind the eyes when you notice when you see someone eat a kale salad. Despite this, some midwits decide to be edgy and start eating this plant item. You've seen this look before. It's a look of despair. It's a look of someone who's forced themselves to ingest nature's grossest piece of plant matter so they can virtue signal. Amazing. As the Zoomers say, kale is mad sus. On the other hand, carnivore snacks are bussin' for real, no cap. That means they're very good. And then I like putting little, not like Easter eggs, but like little pop culture references and like throwing in little quotes like this. People need to, Regina George voice, from Mean Girls. Stop trying to make kale chips happen. They're not going to happen. Give in your primal desire. Stick your face into a bag of carnivore snacks. Let the meaty goodness envelop your senses. Marvel at our meats. Get down on all fours. Growl at an innocent passerby. Howl at the moon. Exhibit massive chimp energy at all times. Become ungovernable. Enjoy yourself. Tell the kale industry to F off and opt for carnivore snacks instead. Meat is the future. Get some. Just crazy. Just over the top, but people like that. And they like that about our voice. And it's kind of in your face, and it's kind of meant to be, right? Because it is a very in your face type of product. And again, you probably don't sell this, and that's fine, right? And actually no one sells this because Mark and Sylvia have a very unique proprietary process in terms of how they actually cook, and prepare the snacks only with 2 ingredients, which is amazing. If you ever taste carnivore snacks, they're freaking phenomenal. Absolutely, the brisket is out of this world. That's probably my favorite. But how do we differentiate it? How do we differentiate any product? I actually want to show you one thing real quick. Hold on one second. So there's this David Ogilvy quote. I forget what book of his. He's got 5 or 6 books. I've read them all. I forget. A buddy of mine, well, actually one of my coaching students sent this to me because we were talking about a similar concept. And he's like, oh, dude, look at this from this Ogilvy book I'm reading. But this is really important, and you see those little star and post. He said, there really isn't any significant difference between the various brands of whiskey or various cigarettes or the various brands of beer. They're all about the same. And so are the cake mixes and the detergents and the margins and even the motor cars. The manufacturer dedicates its advertising to building the most favorable image, the most sharply defined personality, is the one who will get the largest share of the market at the highest profit in the long run. In our agency, we take a very long view of our creative responsibilities. We plan 10 years ahead on the assumption that our clients are not out for a fast buck, but intend to stay in business forever. We try to create a sharply defined personalities for our brands. We stick to those personalities year after year. Now, okay, a couple things. I do not believe that all meat is meat. Obviously, we know regeneratively raised meat is 1,000 times better, at least, than factory farm meat. So I don't think he's saying that, but you're not the only regenerative ranch that exists in the world, probably not even in your state. You might have multiple in your county, depending on where you live, right? So it's how do you win? We're not trying to destroy the competition. We're not trying to do that, right? Obviously, we're all in the same battle together. I don't believe in competitors. I believe in collaborators, right? And I've seen that time and time again. But how do you really get outsized results if you're selling? You're not the only person selling what you sell. Well, when you have a really exceptional product, which I believe all of you do, if you're using regenerative ag practices, you do have an exceptional product. You're probably in the top 5% of the entire industry, right? When you add exceptional advertising and branding and marketing and messaging, that's when things really take off, right? So I'm going to show you one more, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. And thank you for bearing with me for an hour. But I like going deep, not just hey, here's 3 hacks to grow your business. That's surface level. You can get that anywhere. I'm trying to really go deep into the advertising messages here, right? And change the way you think about copy in your business and give you crazy examples. Not that you have to use them, not that you have to write like this, but just to expand your brain for what's possible. Let's slay the fake meat dragon. I love this one. Did you wake up this morning and say to yourself, hey, what would be cool? I'd really love to throw up all over my keyboard this morning. I'm guessing that's a big fat no. You're like me. Meat is a priority. But for others, that's not the case. And now there's this thing called fake meat. You've probably seen in the news or on social media. It comes in a few forms. Number 1, Beyond Sawdust / Impossible Soigers. So obviously we can't use their names, right? But you know who we're talking about. Of course, we would never name any names. You're welcome, legal team. Some of these are VC-backed fake meat companies that are taking rotting vegetable scraps, mixing them with sawdust, which is what cellulose is, and soy, sprinkling in some artificial flavors, and then having the audacity to gaslight people to believe this is somehow healthier than real meat. Number 2, chicken tumors, aka lab-grown meat. They're telling you that lab-grown meat is the future. They're telling you it's good for the planet, which we all know is bullshit. What they're not telling you is the way they make this stuff is by artificially inducing tumors with fetal bovine syndrome extracted from cow fetuses. Would you eat a tumor? When we talk about poisoning the well, like, this is what I mean. Like, how is someone who reads this, not that the Carnivore Snacks audience would read that, but again, this is a rallying cry. This strengthens the identity of the tribe when they read this, because they're like, yeah, I agree with this. And it's people like reading things that they agree with, right? And people on the fence, they're like, huh, wow, I didn't really know that. That's kind of effed up. Would you eat a tumor? I wouldn't eat a tumor. Probably a bad idea. Probably an awful idea, actually. This isn't better than meat. It's a play to try and decimate the meat industry in the name of profit. Number 3, veggie meat patties. LOL, do I even need to go here? Here's the deal. We've been eating meat for thousands of years. It's literally the thing that made humans human. The nutrients and fats in meat helped our brains develop into the apex species on this planet. It's what helped us develop mentally to the point where we could create art, discover laws of physics, and explore space. Real meat is the original superfood. Real meat is king. That's why all these fake meat companies are trying to copy it. If you come at the king, you best not miss. We'll keep eating meat, owning everything, and being happy. And that is what I want for you guys. I want you guys to go out, grow your businesses, kick some ass, sell some meat, help some people, build an organization that will last for 100 years. Build something that your grandkids will own one day, right? Meat's the future. You guys rock. Thank you for having me. If you want to find out more about me, I have a new website I'm building, but my old website, which will always still work, is theemailcopywriter.com. You can shoot me a message, get on my email list, and kick some ass. And love you guys. All right, later.
Well, Cameron, on behalf of the D2C Virtual Summit here and all of the farmers and ranchers and farm-to-table businesses represented, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, Jerry, you're so welcome. Happy to be here.
So a few sessions ago, we were talking with Mike over at Butcher Box, and toward the end of that conversation, he actually mentioned the importance for farmers and ranchers to have a vivid vision. And he didn't steal your thunder. He didn't talk about it at all. He just said, we really need to read the book and build out our own vivid vision. If you don't mind, I'd love to kick off. Could you tell us what a vivid vision is?
Sure. And there's 2 parts to this, by the way, as well. I think Mike and I originally met at one of the mastermind communities that we're both members of. And I think it's really important for any business person, whether they're a farmer, a rancher, a doctor, a chiropractor, an internet marketer, a car dealership, no matter what kind of business you own, it's really important to plug yourself and even a few of your key managers and leaders into a couple of mastermind communities each to really cross-pollinate and get ideas on how to grow your business from outside of your industry as well as from inside of your business, of your industry. You know, that's why you learned about the vivid vision concept or heard about it was through some of my media that I've been getting, which I know we'll talk about. And then Mike heard about it through, you know, a mastermind community that we're in. I think it's important for everyone who's listening to make sure that they're involved in a couple of different mastermind communities to grab ideas on how to scale their company. So let me answer the question on what a vivid vision is. A vivid vision is a concept that I learned about from being a part of the Entrepreneurs Organization 25 years ago. And I was a member of a group in Vancouver, Canada. It was the Vancouver chapter of EO, which is the Entrepreneurs Organization. And we were invited to a lunch. There was 120 entrepreneurs invited to this lunch. Only 16 of us showed up. And we met with a high-performance sports psychologist. He basically was a trainer for high-functioning athletes, for Olympians. And he was teaching us how Olympians used visualization in sport and how we could bring the concept of visualization into the business world. Well, what it became is the business person, the farmer, or rancher, or an entrepreneur, leaning out 3 years into the future and describing what their business looks like, acts like, and feels like 3 years from now. So let's say that you lean out and it's December 31st, 2026. And you're going to describe operations, sales, marketing, how your company interacts with employees and suppliers, what your brand is like, what your day-to-day is like, maybe what your metrics and leadership team are like. You're literally describing your company as if you were standing in it 3 years from now. So you end up with a 4 or 5 page written description of your company that you can give to all of your employees, your customers, and suppliers, so they can see what you can see. And the reason it's important is it stops them from guessing. Most people show up in the morning working hard, trying their best, but they can't read your mind. This is a great way for you as the entrepreneur to let them read your mind. And we can share, a sample of what my vivid vision looks like for my company. I've also written one, by the way, for my wife and I wrote one for our marriage. We actually wrote a vivid vision for what our marriage looks like so that we can share that with everybody and they can help us make our marriage, what we're trying to build it to look like as well.
The fact of the matter, everything really begins with a picture. Everything you see around us began with a picture in mind before it ever materialized. And if you expect to have any success that materializes, you have to see it before you actually get there. And I think that's what I really love about what you teach.
Well, and what you're talking about there is also, I don't want people to get confused with the picture being a vision board, right? John Assaraf in the movie The Secret popularized the concept of the vision board. I'm good friends with John. Now, a picture says 1,000 words. So let's say that you as an entrepreneur create a vision board with like 20 pictures on it. Well, everyone sees something different, right? If you can see my background right now, you might think that the picture that I'm showing you is the bookshelves with the books on it. And really what I'm trying to show is a bright lit room. So you see something different than what I wanted this picture to evoke. So the vivid vision, because it's a written document and it's 4 or 5 pages describing in vivid detail, well, every sentence is very clear and every employee can read every sentence and they know exactly what you mean. And then what you try to do is figure out, how do we make every sentence come true?
That's right. So the thing there is, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but we're still measuring it with words. It can't just live in loosey-goosey idea world. You have to take the ethereal and make it material.
Bingo. Exactly right.
I love that. But, a lot of us, we're not the ethereal kind of people. I mean, farmers and ranchers here, we're very practical. So it's like, how do we translate what we're imagining into actual words, and then taking those words, making it portable for everybody within our organization and actually something we can take action on.
So I'll give you a step-by-step process that everyone listening can actually do for themselves. The first step is to get away from your farm, get away from your ranch, get away from your business, get away from your home office, and grab a notebook and a pen. No laptop, no iPad, no iPhone. Get away from it all and go sit around nature and start writing down some notes. Now, what I like to do is write down maybe over 3 or 4 pages about 10 different categories. So I'm going to describe sales, I'm going to describe marketing, operations, customer service, brand, the day-to-day, whatever, relationships with the bank. And I'm going to start scribbling down miscellaneous notes about all these categories. What's my culture like? What are my employees like? How am I growing my leaders? And I'm just going to randomly mind map or scribble down ideas about all these different business areas. That's step 1. Step 2 is to take every category and just write it up as a rough paragraph, a very rough paragraph that only you at this point are going to be reading, right? It's not going to be shared with the world. You're not going to be giving it to employees. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just enough for you to clarify each of the areas. What you're looking for is about 3 to 4 sentences to describe each area of your business. That's a good enough starting point that you should end up with about a 2-page document describing in a bunch of paragraphs your business in its future state. Now, you want to write this as if it's not a series of goals. It's not we will have or we will do or we will be at. You're describing like we are, right? Because you're literally standing in the future. You're only just you're describing what you can see, but not how you make it happen. So don't worry about how it's going to come true. Just describe it. If you want to have a fun family kind of culture, describe that. Don't worry about how you're going to make it happen. Just describe what it looks like. Then you want to take your rough draft, the 2-page rough draft, and you want to pass it to a writer or a copywriter, or even push it through ChatGPT and ask it to make it a 3 or a 4-page description that is vivid. It makes it jump off the page. Maybe it engages and uses neurolinguistic programming, but make it like a document that I can share with the world. A writer or ChatGPT will help build that out for you. And then you can just add some design elements to it so that it looks and feels like your brand. You know, I dropped in the chat for you links to my different vivid visions. We can share those with everybody who's listening and watching today as well, but we can give them examples so they can see what a vivid vision will look like. That's really the starting point.
That's great. And I'm pretty sure that's a process that a lot of us in this industry have not taken. We like the idea, yeah, I'd like to go from raising, dozens of heads of cattle to 1,000. Wouldn't it be great to build out that kind of operation? But that's not really what you're saying. You're saying you need to have it a little more defined than that, because if you can't really wrap your arms around it, it's not going to do you much good to say, wouldn't it be nice if. We have to use language as we are, this is. And so
yeah, I want you to lean out into the future and describe your business as if it is already 1,000 heads of cattle. So what does a business with 1,000 heads of cattle look like? What are the different employees that are involved in that? How is your day-to-day operations running? What are some of the things that you are doing really well? Where are you learning as a company and as a team, right? And start describing what that company looks like. This is why it's important to get out of your office to write this. If you're sitting in your office, you often get stuck in how. What we're trying to do here is to allow our minds to dream. And then when we share that written document with the team, they'll be able to figure out how to make that come true later.
That's right. Let your imagination run wild. Don't start trying to figure out the how. See, I'm actually really bad at that. That's one thing that I love that you teach is I always start putting restrictions on what I'm thinking, what I'm envisioning. It's like, well, if we do this, that means I'm going to have to do that. And that's going to affect 2 other things. And then suddenly I'm going from vision to really clamping it down and making it something I didn't want to begin with.
Now, there are a few areas that we need to restrict our vision. Core values is one of them, right? So you're not going to build a company and compromise your core values. And then another one is your core purpose, right? You're going to stay focused on what you're building and why you're building it. Don't let your vivid vision take you outside of the reason of why you exist. And then lastly is take a look at your competency and your ability to raise financing or to have the money to be able to do what you want. So you need to be able to stress test some of the ideas a little bit. It's impossible for any company who's got 6 head of cattle today to do 10,000 head of cattle in 3 years. It's just not going to happen. Like, it's too big of a stretch, right? So you got to have a stretch goal, but it needs to be realistic as well.
Man, that's really good. You've already kind of given us a lot there. Is there anything else you'd want to add, or a way you can kind of steer us in this direction of the vivid vision before we kind of move on to some other exciting things here?
Yeah, once you have it crafted, once you've got this vivid vision, you're going to share it with the world. You're going to share it with your current employees, your current customers, your suppliers, your banker, your accountant. You're going to share it with potential employees, potential customers, so that everyone can see what you can see. But remember, for the first 3 to 6 months, they're going to think you're crazy, because you're talking about this company 3 years from now that looks nothing like what your company looks like today. So you have to remind them it's kind of like building a home, right? Or you're in Michigan, it's kind of like building a snowman. When you build a snowman, you start with this tiny little ball of snow and you keep rolling it and rolling it and rolling it, and it doesn't even grow. It just stays this, and then all of a sudden it gets big real fast. Well, building a home is the same way. You can bulldoze the property, but your home isn't going to look like the home you're imagining for at least 12 months. For the first 1 or 2 months, it's just the foundation being poured and foundation being set. And then what seems like for 3 months, it's the walls being put up and the framing, but we know that we're going to get the Wolf stove and the Sub-Zero fridge and the beautiful cabinets, but not day one. So your vivid vision is going to come true over 3 years, Some parts of it will happen in year 3, some in year 2, some in fourth quarter, third quarter, second quarter. It's important to remind people that it will open up and happen over time, not to get discouraged because they don't see it all happening in the second week.
Yeah, it's like working out consistently, but you're stepping on the scale every day. You're not seeing what you think you should be, but then all of a sudden it starts actually compounding. And it's funny how when, like you're talking about, once it starts snowballing, then it's easier to look back and go, oh, wow, this process was working the whole time. I just wasn't quite perceiving it.
Yeah, exactly right. The workouts.
I love that. So I'd like to shift here a little bit. So here at Farm Rebel, we teach customer acquisition for farm to table meat producers. That's like our bread and butter. That's our area of genius that we teach. And it's not easy for farmers, but it is one of the most important things for us to consider. And you actually had put together just an incredible book that I highly recommend on free PR. And it's not really part of a strategy that I'd really fully considered. We do this sometimes even by accident, even in our business. But you had a great endorsement by Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and he said, you need to get this book because public relations is customer acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful statement. So I'd love to talk about that. Moving on to this subject.
It's funny. I met Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank back in 1991 for the first time. He was the president of a company. I can't remember what it was called, but we were at a conference called Comdex. It was a computer science trade show and conference back in 1991 in New York City. All right. So where did I learn the whole concepts of PR and the power of it? When I was 20 years old, I was running a house painting company. And I'd seen my dad for years being covered in the newspaper. We grew up in a small town in Northern Ontario, Canada. And I remember seeing my dad being covered in the newspaper a lot and sometimes even being on TV for his automotive business. And what he taught me was that all he would do is call the media and tell them about something and they would come and cover him. So I thought, why don't I call the newspaper and see if they'll write about my house painting company? And I called them up and said, hey, I have a good story for you. Do you have a couple of minutes? And the writer from the newspaper said, sure, what's the story? And I said, well, I couldn't find a job this summer, so I started my own company. And now I'm employing 12 other students that couldn't find jobs. And we're painting houses all over the city. Why don't you come and inspire other people to start their own business? He said, okay. That was it. That was the pitch. He said, okay. And then I said, I'm painting a home about 20 blocks away from the newspaper. Here's the address. Why don't you come? And if you can bring a camera, I can have 5 guys with our shirts clamoring all over the back of the house. It'll make for a great photo. So he did. And then it started from there, calling newspapers, calling magazines, calling TV stations. And almost every time I called, they decided to cover us. So we started to do that in the house painting company. It was called College Pro Painters. We did it again with 1-800-GOT-JUNK. We landed 5,200 stories about 1-800-GOT-JUNK when I was the COO of that company. And I just realized how easy it is to actually generate media. So the co-author of Free PR and myself, Adrian was a former client of mine, and he was really good at generating PR as well. We decided to write it as a book called Free PR and kind of give away all of the systems and secrets on how to generate free press. The reason it's powerful, it's hard for people to believe all the advertising that they see, but it's easy for them to believe the media coverage that they're getting. I'll give you an example. If I was to take the videos of everything I'm talking about today and run it as ads on YouTube or ads on Facebook or email the videos or send it up on YouTube, people might believe it. But the fact that I'm sitting on your show and I'm talking to your clients, my credibility factor is much higher. Well, this is public relations for me. This is me speaking to your audience. It costs me nothing and I get my message out. So it works. Well, we identified that what we call the digital trifecta with public relations. So you have your earned media, your owned media, and your paid media. Your earned media is how you generate free press coverage about your business. So it could be newspaper coverage, blog coverage, video, YouTube coverage, whatever it's going to be as a farmer, rancher. It's any kind of coverage that you can generate about your business. That's earned media. Now, that's kind of like getting a log on a fire, right? If I'm on a podcast or I'm in a newspaper, I'm in a magazine, that's 3 logs, right? 3 pieces of media coverage is almost like having 3 logs sitting in a pile. Well, we need to take those logs and light them on fire. Well, the way you light them on fire is you take the press coverage that you get and you share them on social media. You share them 3 times on Facebook and 3 times on LinkedIn and 3 times on Instagram. You email them out to your client list. You ask your employees to share it on their social media pages, and you put it up on the press page of your website. That's how you're lighting your logs on fire, so more people see the episodes and the coverage that you're getting. That's the owned media. Well, the digital trifecta comes in when you buy traffic and you push your customers to those pieces that you've now placed on your social media platforms. So what I'll do as an example, let's say I'm on somebody's YouTube podcast. I'll take that YouTube podcast, I'll share it on Facebook, share it on LinkedIn, put it on my press page, link it to my YouTube channel, I'll email it to my list, and then I'll drive all of my customers to see those links so that they get retargeted and they're seeing it in front of them. So it's a new way of doing marketing, is leveraging more public relations.
And the best part is it's free. So we talk about, it's pretty trendy to talk about media buying and how to be great at Facebook ads and understanding algorithms and paying to get in front of people. But what you're really talking about is if you start with the free, you can multiply the effectiveness of it and then move it to some of those other channels by chopping it up, reusing the content and sharing it. So I love this.
Exactly. And even if you land really, really big media coverage. So back in 2003, when I was the COO for 1-800-GOT-JUNK, we were covered on the holy grail of marketing. We were on Oprah. We had a 6-minute piece on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and we had our trucks on the Oprah Show, our 1-800-GOT-JUNK jackets and shirts, and it was great branding for us. And the phone rang like crazy for 2 days. And then it stopped. And people went on with their lives. The value of being on Oprah wasn't those 2 days. It was that we could talk to people about being on Oprah for 20 years. It's been 20 years since we were on Oprah, and I mention it all the time. So the credibility factor comes not just from being on the shows and getting the press, but being able to leverage that press multiple times in multiple ways, and then being able to drive traffic to it so they see it as well. Because the reality is a lot of people never saw the Oprah Show or never saw an article in Inc. magazine I've been in the physical print edition of Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., etc., in the actual magazines, but a lot of people don't see those magazines. So I can get reprints and mail them. I can get digital links and send them out. So it's me getting copies of it and sharing it with everybody is where the real power comes from.
It's like,
so it's really leveraging marketing and free PR at the same time.
It's incredible. It's so powerful. So we had Will Harris on, you guys. So we've had Will Harris on the D2C Summit, and most of us know him, yes, as really a pioneer in regenerative farming practices these days, but we know him as a name because he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and that gets shared by so many people, and it drives traffic back to White Oak Pastures. And so it's no small thing. And then our last summit, we had Joel Salatin, same thing. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast. Everybody's starting to see him from there. And so this is no small thing to put as part of your marketing plan.
Right. It also is, as you mentioned, it is free, right? It takes time, and it takes time to do an interview. It takes time. But what I tried to do in writing the book Free PR is to show people how to get the highest impact from calling the media, how to get the best results from calling the media, and also how to do the media interviews so that you get your message out there in the right way and in the right format.
Yeah, it's an incredible book. Let's give a little taste of what that might look like. So I'm a farmer rancher. I want to sell more of my beef direct to consumer right from my farm. How do I turn that into a phone conversation with a news reporter, or somebody in media? Like how do I go from zero to that first possible booking?
So I'll give you the whole kind of recipe in a really kind of small chunk, but I urge everybody to grab a copy of the book Free PR on Amazon, read it, devour it. You'll learn a ton. So the first part is to recognize how the media makes money, right? all media outlets, whether it's magazines, newspapers, bloggers, etc., they only make money from advertising, right? Selling advertising, selling something to their list is how they make money. Well, it's also realizing that they can't afford to go out and find new stories. They can't afford to send people out there finding stories about farmers who have beef and blah, blah, like they can't afford that. That investigative journalism has been long gone. So they need your content. They need your content to attract more viewers and listeners and eyeballs, but they can't afford to go get it. So you're doing them a favor by bringing them a story. The next thing is to remember that every single journalist, podcaster, blogger wakes up at first thing in the morning thinking, what the heck am I going to write about today? Right? They're all going to wake up tomorrow morning going, God, I got to come up with another story. So make it easy for them in giving them another story. Now, everyone who's listening has 5 stories about their company. And the story is not that you're a farmer, raising beef. Who the hell cares? Nobody cares, right? Even your friends don't care. That's not the story. The first story is what's called the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey is that you struggle and you overcome something and you succeed. So one of the stories that we all have are the struggles. How did you get through COVID? How did you get through a drought? How did you get through competition? How did you get through government intervention? Whatever the things are that you had to get through, tell that story of how you struggled and overcame. That's number 1. The number 2 story that we all have is the Genesis story. It's how we started, right? How did you start becoming a farmer? Did you quit your job on Wall Street and become a farmer? Or did you grow up in a family of farmers? Or did you wake up one morning and think, hey, I want to be a farmer? Like, how did you do this? How do you go about doing that? And how do you go from start to where you are? Because that story inspires, it educates, and it's not time sensitive. It can be run at any time that the media has those stories. But every single one of us has that story of how we started our business today. Number 3 is we have a story about our culture, right? What's it like working on a farm? What's it like growing a farm? How do you keep employees doing this work? How do you have fun with them? How do you play as talk about to us? Like, we don't know. When 99% of us that are growing up in normal cities, in normal jobs, in families, in residential neighborhoods, have no idea what it's like to be in this environment. So tell us that. Give us that story of what it's like to have a culture, and we can take those lessons and maybe bring it into our business as well. The next story that we all have is how we're all using technology to grow our business. So how are you leveraging technology in the farm, whether it's automation or robotics or computers or digital marketing or the machinery out in the fields? How do you do it? What do you do? Teach us those things. Show us how you're using technology in the business. And the last is your customer story. What are some stories about your customers benefiting from your product? How are your customers using your product? Name your customer. The kitchen restaurant in Boulder, Colorado, with Kimball Musk as the owner of the restaurant, buys all of his produce farm to table, and here's why, and here's where he gets it, and here's what the food looks like. That's the story, right? Well, if you're a farmer selling into 3 different states, you've probably got a story of a customer in 20 different cities. It's the same story city by city by city. So do the same story about Bob in Denver as you do about Sally in Boulder, as you do about Fred in Cave Creek. It's the same story, just change up the names. So you don't even really need new stories all the time. You just need to pitch those core 5 stories to multiple outlets in multiple cities. And then once you have 3 or 4 or 10 stories, you have enough logs to set on fire. And then once you have the logs on fire, you and I, what did we do when we were 15 years old and we had logs on fire? We poured gas on it. Well, that's the marketing and pushing people so that they see those stories. That's the digital trifecta.
Man, and so here's something really important to know. We're talking D2C. These 5 story genres that Cameron's talking about, guys, these are emails too. These are email campaigns when you're promoting a product or when you have something coming up. So do the work once and find different ways to use it over and over again.
Yeah, I love that.
So, wow. I mean, that's pretty incredible. that kind of takes some of the fear factor away too. If maybe we're introverted, maybe we do better hanging out with the cattle than we do other people. That kind of takes some of the pressure off of now I have to be a personality of some sort in the media. It's just kind of knowing.
No, you know what's interesting is I think a farmer, a rancher is going to connect with a journalist much better than a business person will. Journalists and writers are quiet, they're more amiable, they're more analytical. They don't want a high energy, gregarious salesperson coming at them. That scares them away. What they're looking for is someone to help them write the next story. So all you do is call them up and say, hey, you haven't met me yet. It's Jarrett calling. I think I have a good story for you. Do you have 2 minutes? And they're going to say, sure. What's the story? Give them the headline of the story, give them 5 short bullet points, and just say, what do you think?
That's pretty incredible.
I even talk about in the book Free PR, I talk about how to pitch it and how to explain it, how to follow up with the media. I kind of give you the whole step by step. So
yeah, the whole script for reaching out. I love that. Hey, I did have a question though. We talked about 5 different stories, the 4th one being technology. We're living in a pretty strange age. How much should we be talking about our technology versus current news technology like 3D printed meat, Petri dish lab grown meat, some of these kind of crazy ideas that are out there? How much should we be tying to current events like that in our stories?
I would be trying to talk more about the specific things of what you do and leave the science to the scientists, unless you're actually actively using that stuff. Because as soon as they start scratching the surface and realize, oh, you're not even doing 3D meat, why are you confusing me? Like, just leave it to tell the story as the story is. Leave the other stories to the people that are actually in the middle of it, would be my advice.
It's even easier because now you don't have to do the homework to do the tie-in.
Well, and you're not the expert in that space, right? It's like if somebody asks me about finance and IT, I'm like, I'm not an expert in finance and IT. But if you want to talk about operations, execution, people, culture, scaling companies, PR, marketing, yeah, I'm an expert, right? I'm globally recognized as somebody who knows how to grow people, grow the leadership skills of people. But if somebody wants to ask me technology questions, I'm like, yeah, I can't answer that. So don't pitch things that is not inside your wheelhouse.
Incredible.
But again, remember the 5 stories you've got: the Genesis story, the hero's journey story, the technology story, the culture story, and your customer story.
Cameron, this has already been a lot for us to chew on. I do want to say, get the free PR book, get the Vivid Vision book, put these things, just these tools alone is going to take your business in just light years ahead. Just absolutely incredible. Any parting words for farmers and ranchers before we kind of wrap up this session together?
Yeah, there's 2 things. One, I just dropped a link in that I'd like you to share. It's a course called Invest in Your Leaders. And I think it's important for every rancher and farmer to put themselves at least, or them plus 2 or 3 of their employees, through this course content. It's the 12 core skills in leadership that you need to build a successful business, successful company, to lead people. So it's stuff around interviewing and running meetings and handling conflict and coaching and delegation, time management. It's really, really good skills that I've used to grow all the companies. So I urge everyone to sign up for that. It's really, really good content. It's investinyourleaders.com. The second thing is to remember that none of this actually matters. This is all that we're doing to make money. We're all just walking each other home. None of us are getting out of this alive. So let's have some fun along the way as well, right? Remember that all of your employees who are showing up helping you are struggling with their human condition as well. Connect with your people on the human side, and they'll connect to help you grow your company. But really care about your employees.
Cameron, thank you so much for those words. Thank you so much for your years of pouring into leaders and entrepreneurs and organizations. We're looking forward to connecting with you even further in the future.
You're so welcome, Jared. Thanks for having me.
We heard about grass-fed through one of our processing customers who came in and was all excited. She was abuzz about it because she had just signed up after using those strategies to sell honey. And she said it was gangbusters. They sold out their honey immediately. They made a crazy amount of money for it. She was still in shock. So I looked into you guys, and I was skeptical at first. I feel so I walked into it really skeptical, but what I was learning about what you guys offered was really what drew me in. And the thing that actually made us pull the trigger, what I always tell people, is the shipping discounts, because we were shipping 85% of our beef. And and you guys had way better discounts than what we were able to achieve. So we pulled the trigger on that, and we thought, well, if the marketing aspect is junk, like at least we've got this, and I think we'll make our money back. But we 10 times our business with grass-fed strategy. Our Christmas from 2020, Christmas from 2021 to Christmas of 2022, we 10 times our business just with the grass-fed strategies and the build-ups and all of that, and switching to some more steady email marketing. And so that was really encouraging. And I love being able to share that with people when I talk to them, because I feel like I got into the marketing side and I thought there's legitimate things here, like there's some good information, and but now I have the data to prove that it was good and helpful. So grass-fed's been wonderful for us. It helped us relieve some of our inventory issue and change up some of our strategies so that we can move forward like without the bank and without having to deal with inventory, and streamlining a lot of our processes. And I would 100% recommend to new customers or to ranchers.
Hello, my name is Bruce Swab, and my son and I started Uncle Swab's Pastured Poultry. A couple years ago, we got concerned about the local food chain and also the quality of the food we were eating. So we took a leap of faith and started a pastured poultry farm here in Okeechobee, Florida. I had everything pretty well figured out. I worked really hard. I created a nice little Shopify website. I got my chicken production in hand. At the time, I had 4 freezers full of chickens, so I knew how to raise pretty good chickens. But this website I created was just sitting there on idle doing nothing, and I thought, if you build it, they will come. That just is not true. It was so pretty to look at, but man, there was nobody coming to it, and I couldn't figure out how to close that gap and get people to see my product. We'd gone out to friends and family, and they thought it was great, but boy, none of them were really interested in eating our chicken. So I knew I needed to do something different. And about that time, this fella Cam King came along, and I started listening to him because he was speaking to me. He was he was talking about selling bulk beef to people, but for the same reasons we wanted to sell chicken. So I investigated the grass-fed marketing organization and the platform, and it really seemed like it was an investment, but I knew that I had this little website about 85% of the way done, but it was that last 15% that was going to make or break my little farm. And man, just couldn't be more true. Matter of fact, it wasn't 15% they added, it was 1,000% they added to what we were doing. You just can't know that until you get in, but this group has so many years of experience in marketing. It's psychology. They took my pricing model that I had, and they just threw it in the trash and helped me understand how we needed to price these products, and they taught me how to define my customer. And I just couldn't have done it. But they helped me. They held my hand. They took the tools that I have, and they added a tool on top of it, and they added a tool below it, and they showed me how to go out and grab and find customers. Needless to say, those freezers are empty now, and I can't grow chickens fast enough, and I don't want to grow too fast, but people now place pre-orders with me in order to wait to get the chicken. The other thing they've got is this platform of tools. They lead you through a launch series, and it's unbelievable. It's focused, it's real world. If you take it to heart, you will come away with an asset within yourself that's going to create abundance for your family forever. And so it's really a fabulous program, and I highly, highly recommend it.
Hello, my name is Bryant Corbridge. I've been working with some of the coaches here with Customers on Demand for a couple months now, and it's been a great experience so far. It's been so nice having a community and a support system, starting a direct-to-consumer business, and they've helped a ton. There's a lot of things that I definitely wouldn't have been able to do on my own, so it's just nice having that community and a coach to support you along the way, and I have nothing but good things to say about those guys.
Hey, congrats on sticking it out to the end today. Today was full of incredible speakers. If you're anything like me, you heard some things that were like, wow, very staggering numbers, staggering results. But remember, this is about not just getting some information, but this is about massive action, taking massive action to experience transformation in your direct-to-consumer sales. You've heard some things that you can possibly implement, but you may be thinking, okay, how do I do this? How do I take what I've heard today and start applying it to my business? Well, the answer in your business is the same as many of our private clients. They needed a coach to help them with the step-by-step process of implementing a system. So you've just heard from a few people who are part of our program or have gone through what we call our Customers on Demand coaching program, where we literally help you walk through each step you're gonna need to take to implement a direct-to-consumer sales system. This isn't about a website. This isn't about middlemen. This is about helping you with a coaching program. We take you by the hand, we walk you through it. We tailor everything around your business, your dreams, your desires, the results you're hoping to get, the products you want to sell, the way you want to sell them, the type of business model you want to work in. And we help you with that every step of the way. And so not only do we have the Customers on Demand program, but it comes with group coaching. So you get to rub shoulders with other successful producers who are on the same path as you, and you guys get to problem solve together, problem solve with our coaches, and really start seeing the results that your farm or ranch deserves. So if you want to learn more about that, by the way, it's not for everybody. You need to be selling direct to consumer. Just because you can afford the program doesn't guarantee that you can be welcomed into the program. You have to apply. We don't work with just anybody. But when you book a free breakthrough session with our team, we're actually going to walk you through a few things. We're going to find out where you are, where you like your business to go, and then we want to give you a few next steps that you can start working on right away. And if you feel like it's a good fit, if we feel like it's a good fit, we'll invite you to join Customers on Demand here at Farm Rebel. Otherwise, it was great seeing you today. Click the button below to book that free breakthrough session. These are normally $497. We charge about $500 for just a quick one-on-one coaching call, but we want to give you one for free just so we can get a feel for you, get a feel for us, and see what's possible in your business. Tomorrow, day 2 of the D2C Summit, you're going to want to be prepared to take a ton of notes. We talked a lot about some motivational things today. We gave some overviews. Tomorrow, we're digging in. We're going to actually give you how-to things, email marketing, building out subscription models, where to put all this stuff online to actually start getting some of the sales that we're talking about today. And so we're really rolling up our sleeves and digging into how we can do this in our businesses tomorrow. So again, glad you made it today. We're starting bright and early tomorrow. We're kicking off day 2 with really more implementation. So glad you're here. Again, book the free breakthrough session below today. Those are going to fill up pretty quickly. There's several hundred of us here. And so we expect that calendar to fill up pretty quickly. But again, it was great seeing you today. I hope you learned a lot. Tomorrow, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose. So be ready to go tomorrow.